Hello and welcome. Hopefully everything's working. Right, who have we got? Oh, Carol was first in. Hello, Carol. Hello, Debbie. Hello, Kim. I can't read all this chat. Wow, there's so much chat, but I hope I won't miss anybody. Keep going, keep going. Hello, Tony. Oh, Mike's in. 8 well sat at computer. Like, this is unusual, Mike.
I was testing the chat thing.
Oh, you tell a good tale.
No, I was. That's why I typed hello, because it wasn't working to start with.
Well, hopefully it's working now and everybody's hearing everybody.
It is.
So, fantastic. Right, keep going. I'm going to keep going. Hello, Mark, Vancouver Island. Oh, now that just sounds fabulous. Hello, Jonathan. The late Jonathan, not dead, just late. I think he's up to mischief today, Jonathan. There's something afoot, Jonathan. Hello, Deb, CQ. Hello, Paul. Too wet for walking. Oh no! We're being told this from all over, aren't we? The weather's just really bad at the moment. Hello, Graham. Oh, got your COVID jab? 8:10. Do you mean in the morning? Oh, that's bad news. Oh, that they'd have to give me one at a reasonable hour, or it wouldn't be happening. We shall be thinking of you, Graham. Right, who else have we got? Hello, Peter. Another Peter. Peter Williamson. Hello. Why is it it's zooming me around fit to bust, crying out loud. I think I don't know why it's jumping, but I think I've got everybody. Hello, Terry. And I think I'm done. Whoa, that was good, wasn't it? Right, let me do some magic at this end and then make some changes. As soon as I click one thing, it'll do something else. I knew it would, but let's make sure that that's there. I'm not at all sure that that worked. I'm not. Right, now I'm a little bit more confident that you should be seeing what I am seeing. I'm also confident, quickly checks, I think I've pressed all the buttons. I think I've pressed all the buttons. Did you notice that pause of I think I've pressed all the buttons? Right, what I'm going to do, is this working or not? Oh, I've got weirdness happening at this end. Isn't that always the case? That I have weirdness happening at this end? But I'm going to carry on and make sure that it's okay. So first thing to do is that. And then the second thing, oh yes, that's absolutely fine. So I can switch back to you and all will be well. Right, and then we can get on. Got some exciting stuff tonight if you've never seen it before. So let's make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. I think you are. And let's share it. Ooh, Vivaldi have done an update. The update is pretty much under the hood, but there's a couple of nice things. Acorn have released a brand new version. If you've never heard of Acorn, it is an image editor. And at the moment, it's 50% off. So as a backup, even if you're using Affinity, you can never have too many toys. I'll show you a little bit of what we did last week, but in Acorn. Then we've got Craft Notes. This was young Jonathan. Now, young Jonathan's probably quite shocked to hear his name at that point, thinking, no, it wasn't me, didn't do a thing. Well, yes and no, Jonathan. You mentioned that you are on the lookout for a Notes app because Apple Notes isn't cutting it. So I thought, what better time to share with you what we're doing here at MacBites headquarters with Craft Notes. Then we've got Mike with his financial functions. I don't need financial functions, never have enough money for it. But Mike's going to share them with you. And then, talking of never having any money, this would be why, we're going to look at Notion 2021 and creating a subscription tracker to track exactly what I'm spending on my tech. Oh, this could come as a big surprise to Mike. Right, we broadcast in 1080p. Make sure you are in 1080p. My lowest this week was 360 on an iPad. I don't know why it had done that to me, but it had. So make sure you are watching in 1080p. And while you are down
I'm already
there,
on 1080p.
I see that's 3 weeks running you've been all right. You know what will happen, don't you? Next time, you'll be down to a pinhead. It'll happen, telling you. So while you're down there with that cog on the right-hand side, you enjoy the show, give us a like. Really makes a difference. So, what mischief have we been up to this week? Oh, it's been a bit of a week. Okay, we started off on Saturday, where we had lots of music shows, and the rest of Saturday is pretty much a blur to me. But then with that much work, it would be, wouldn't it? But I do remember going into Marooned. And once we were out of Marooned at 8, chaos ensues. Now, actually, it's been quite peaceful for a couple of weeks. It's been quite peaceful because we haven't had a Saturday delivery, have we? We used to have Tesco on a Saturday, Asda on a Sunday, bringing what had been forgotten. But this week, they were due much later. So we started by request. And the theme was Ireland and all things Irish for St Patrick's Day, which was on Wednesday, which was when Asda started playing with Mike's mind, wasn't it? He's forgotten. But he got a little a text. So he'd ordered it for 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock on Saturday. And then he got a text saying that they'd be arriving between 3 minutes to 10 and 3 minutes to 11, which basically gave them a 3-minute window to get it there on the right time. But they did, didn't they?
They did.
Yes, much to my shock. Now, why were we forced into placing an Asda order? That means something was missing from the Tesco order. Oh, tomato puree. Don't mention tomato puree to Mike. You wouldn't think they'd need to restrict the amount of tomato puree you can have, would you? But Tesco's had 3 little tubes. That wasn't going to cut it for the pizza that we wanted to make, which was a gluten-free mushroomy pizza. So Mike needed that anyway. He found some at Asda. It arrived. It was fabulous. So portobello mushrooms were had. There was no gluten in it. There was no pizza base in it. The mushrooms were the pizza base, and it was gorgeous. Which took us on to Sunday. Oh, Sunday has become 2-show Sunday. So it was mastering blend modes in Affinity Photo, and it's available on demand on the channel right now. That wasn't all we were doing on Sunday. And I've just realised I've not put one item on one of the slides here, but I have got another item, so that's fine. In the UK, it was Mother's Day. Oh, Rachel dropped a gift and a card, which I did have a picture of, but it's not on the slide. So that's the card. I'll find the gift later and put it on the slide. But after all that excitement, I am incredibly blessed, aren't I? It's a gorgeous card. After that, it was the match. And Mike didn't hold out much hope again. He never does. You've become a bit of a doom monger, haven't you? It's now expected they will lose every game they try and play. Evidence proves they're much more likely to draw. But they won. It was an own goal, though, wasn't it, Mike? So actually, United didn't score, West Ham did, just in the wrong net. Does that ever happen in American football, do you think? Probably not. You can't get like an own goal in rugby, can you? It's only football that you do daft tricks like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, they won, so he was happy. He was a happy boy. I was finishing book club. Oh, didn't that pass quickly? We started in January and we finished up last week. So it was all a bit of a party, which means Smart Notes is in the pot to, at some point, have a look at on After Hours, which took us on to Monday. Monday was fantastic. If you remember last week when we did After Hours, we had Mike's mum in the house. Well, that point she was only watching. On Monday, she was actually presenting on YouTube. It was amazing. When we actually found it. It was one of those situations where you've created a go live link and then you can't go live to it. So you have to go live to another link. But then everybody who is waiting is in the wrong link. But Mike sorted it out. So we did actually get to watch it. Monday was also, very exciting, because you know what life's like here. It's barking mad here. Remember the cone from last week? Yeah, it's morphed. Now, no job here happens in like a timely manner. So they do work here in episodes, do the council. So this will rumble on for weeks, I predict it. But the cone has morphed. Well, it's moved, actually. As you can see, it's moved slightly to the left. Lola wanted a closer look. That's the view from our front gate. She needed a closer look, so she headed over with Mike, the Shadows Mike. Why they have a cone next to somebody's wall is beyond me. Totally beyond me. But then it was beyond me where it was, because it's got a chalk cross on it, if you look at it, underneath the new thing that's arrived. Is there a technical term for what that actually is? Because it's not a cone, is it? It's
No.
kind of a little barrier.
Yeah.
And it's got sandbags on so it doesn't blow away in the breeze. Lola still wasn't satisfied, though. No. Supervising, she had to go and have a closer look. And yet a closer one. Did you realise, don't you? I'm pretty sure Mayer would have marked his territory there.
Yeah.
But Lola was very refined and limited herself to surveying the impending action, whatever that may be. So, watch this space. I trust something crazy will happen. But Monday was that kind of day, because then the owl's highway robbery occurred. No, not that owl. No, not him. He's the cute owl. That owl.
It's a safety barrier, according to Renee.
Oh, right. Well, there's nothing to be safe about at the moment, is there? Because there's no action. There won't be for weeks. So this owl, well, we've been subscribed to their service for about 5 years. It's a Twitter thing, but the overriding feature that you would pay for, which we do, is the ability to schedule tweets. Because obviously, 2 minutes before we're going live, not the best time to be trying to fiddle sending a tweet. So for that, we pay £107 a year. A year. Hold on to that thought. A year. Clearly, times are hard. They need to, and I quote, realign their pricing structure. Darn it, thought I. I wonder how much they'll add. And I'm thinking, well, 5% would be this much, and 10% would be £10.70, and 20%. And I got to 50%, and I thought, no, they're not going to go that high, are they? So, just so you remember, 107 a year. Reevaluated? They actually had the cheek to send that on Monday. That is obscene. It's exactly the same service we've got now. They're not upping it in any kind of way. That is obscene. So if you never see a tweet from us again, you know why. I am not paying that. That is obscene. Mike did find somebody who'd said something about it on Twitter, didn't you?
Pretty much what you've just said.
Which we think was pretty much what I said, but it was in Dutch. So it could have said anything. But it quoted the original price, and it quoted that price, and we guessed the words in between. Doubtless Renee would be able to tell us exactly what that said. We're thinking it was what we were thinking, though. But we moved bravely on. We thought, we'll cancel that as and when. And that took us to Tuesday. 1 year. 1 whole year. It was a major milestone at MacBites headquarters. It was 1 year of being marooned at MacBites headquarters. And, did we celebrate in a good way? Oh, yes, there was lots of things happened here. On the day, we went live with Simon, who was sharing the love of his new M1 Mac Mini. And we had a big congratulations for Tracy. She has completed the Marooned at MacBites headquarters marathon. Year 1. Notice there, year 1. The R rate's gone up today. Could be year 3, 4, 5. But Tracy has completed year 1, and she's even carrying on with year 2. Congratulations, Tracy. You may notice that is not the standard MacBites poster. You might have to pause that and see the extra item on it. Can anybody tell me what the extra item is? At a quick look. I'm going to give you a countdown of 5, and then I'll move on. You might have to go back and pause it. 5, 4. Can you even see it, Mike? 3, 2, 1. If you've seen it, put it in the chat. But need to move on to Wednesday. So this is overnight, Tuesday and Wednesday morning. Mike had gone to bed. Now, just like A Christmas Carol, where Marley was dead, and you needed to be aware of that, or nothing magical would come of the story, you need to be aware that Mike was in bed, and had been in bed asleep for at least 3 hours, if not longer, when I got a text on my phone. And I'm thinking there, I'm pretty confident that is not from Mike. It was unlikely to be him. So what gives, Apple? Gaslighting me again much? We investigated the following morning, and I said, I do remember you sending me that text, but I'm assuming it wasn't at 2:30 last night. And he said, no. So he goes back through his text to me and goes back and goes back. And it turns out he sent that text on the 9th of February. So, only 5 weeks before it arrived. Well done, Apple. Well done. Now, didn't you say your watch had been acting up a bit?
Yeah. My watch sent me didn't send me a text. I got a text on my watch about 2 days after it had arrived on my phone.
Oh, well, 5 weeks from now, I can only imagine how fascinating it's going to be to see what I said today that you've then found. Apple, get your act together. I also decided at this point, this was a bit of a giggle, to go and have a look at the stats for last Sunday's show, which was the mastering blend modes in Infinity Photo, if you recall. So a few stats were there. The funny ones are at the end. But the watch time from subscribers is 63%, which means 37% are watching and not subscribed. If that's you, subscribe, and then you'll get notified. Top geographies were the States. Oh, just pipping the UK. And then some others. So these were literally the stats headlines. Another one was subtitles. Only 1.5% of people need subtitles. And then this one happened. Now, before I show you this one, think about it. You know if you were there, and you know how you would identify, and some of this is actually fact. That happened. And I thought, just a minute. I know for a fact that Kim was there and the Debs were there and Sarah was there. Just a minute. And the other issue, I know I was there and Mike was there and we're not over 65 yet. I think YouTube are having a moment. Either that or everybody's identifying as male and being over 65. That makes no sense. No sense at all, because I know you were there and I talked to you. Yes, so I think I should ignore the stats, don't you? Then it was Thursday, and before we knew it, Mike was manning the Catenian Zoom meeting, which was a bit of a problem, because he was multitasking. Fear not, he was multitasking. You may recall that the first leg of the Europa tie was last week. This week was the away leg. Now, because they'd drawn 1-1, I know this is going to be very complicated if you have no interest in football, but if a team scores an away goal, so AC Milan visited Old Trafford, they scored. It counts double. Oh dear. So although it was 1-1, United had to win. And more importantly, not let AC Milan score. By some miracle, that is exactly what they managed to do. Oh, Mike was one happy boy. I definitely heard a yes behind me, didn't I? Are you going to admit that?
Yeah.
He did, honestly, he did. In fact, according to the stats there, it was close run thing, but it was okay. Luckily, the match had reached its climax before this happened. This was, I think, the calamity of the week. Mike headed off to bed. I was working, and that was when we lost power. It was quite, we lost everything. All the computers went off, the drives went off, the lot. What was interesting was when the power came back, I couldn't get the computers on or anything that took a lot of power, but the lights came on. And they're controlled by the A-lady. So it was busy trying to say to the A-lady, can you turn the lights off? And she came back and said, no, I haven't got an internet connection. So we were in the pitch dark where we needed light. We had lights where we didn't need lights. And the A-lady was like, no, I'm not playing ball. I'm not going to turn that light off. Then by the time it had all calmed down, so let's say it had all calmed down, there was still 874 customers without electric for an hour and 20 minutes. Yeah, that was us. So last night was interesting. If stuff goes wrong tonight, if we disappear for a start, it'll be the electric. But if stuff goes wrong and I'm looking at a blank slide, that would be why. They're playing with my mind. Which took us on to today when United started playing with my mind. Got an email from United today. We can't wait to see you. I saw the title and thought, pardon. Too long didn't read version. They're opening up their stadium and museum tours again from May. So that was the mail I got on the one hand, and on the other hand, I'm being told the R rate's going up. Let's see if that happens. I don't know. Mike dealt with the Tesco man. Still no sign of Wendy.
Woman.
Oh, it was a woman.
It was a woman.
And it's Two Show Friday. Oh, the excitement. So let's start with the first thing of the week, which is Acorn. Let me know in the chat if you've heard of it or if you've actually used it. But Acorn has been around for many, many years. It is a very, very good image editor. So I thought I'd take one of those images from last week and I would redo it in Acorn, show you that it works exactly the same way. So if you ever have a problem and you think I could do with going to, a different image editor, then Acorn is a viable alternative. So I'm opening up Acorn, just hopefully opened on the wrong screen, but there we go. So this is one of the things that I did last week, and this new one's got a lovely interface. By default, it's light, I think, but I changed it to dark. So the first thing I did in here, it was set to system, I think. I like my image editors dark, but I don't like the system dark. I'm strange, I appreciate that. But let me set that to dark, and then we've got something that looks reasonable. Oh, Paul's heard about it and may have purchased a prior version. Renee's used it in the past. Vaguely heard of it, Peter. Debbie's heard of it. Excellent. But Jonathan doesn't think like he's used it for years. Well, I would say this is a good one to have for two reasons. One, to be a backup. And two, sometimes something doesn't work. Like my Bigglesed MacBook Air would not install Publisher last night. I'd done this update and it all went to heck in a handcart and it wouldn't install it. So if you are desperate to edit an image, it's always good to have a backup. Where is that picture from? I would guess Pixabay. So if I take the name of it and we do a search, that's the name of it. Where are you? Let me try Pixabay and Streetlight. That's what I would have probably looked up. I don't instantly see it there. There's one that's very similar. I'd guess Pixabay, but don't quote me. I've got the name of the file, so I will find out exactly where it came from. It would either have been Pixabay, I would guess, or Stock Unlimited. But if you want to follow along with some of them, these are what comes up in Pixabay, so you could use that one. Just as well, but I would guess it's Pixabay, but probably quite down the list of them. So what I did with this was turn the light on, but I'm starting just on the background layer, and what I did was Command and J. That's the same in any image editing application. I changed the blend mode. I wanted it to be darker. What blend mode should I choose? Oh, think of it as homework from last weekend. Many, many people say darker. Oh, you meant geographically, it's Paris. It is somewhere in Paris. I didn't take it, but it's somewhere in Paris. Right, darken doesn't do a thing because it needs to operate on the 2 pixels, but what will do a thing, so darken, nothing, but multiply will. So multiply makes it takes the 2 values and it makes them darker. You can, of course, with that, change the opacity. So if you want it a little bit, mid-80s, looks probably more realistic than the dark one, but I'm going to have it the dark one anyway. Right, then I need a new layer. So new layer. This one is a blank layer. And what we did was I picked up a brush, so B for brush. So this is where I emphasise all the transferable skills that you've got. You think, oh, I've looked at affinity, but those skills transfer to virtually anything. And what we did was we went up here and we turned the light on in there. All right, so I'm going to zoom in so we can see it. So I've got the light on there. I know it looks rough at the moment. And what is the softness on the brush? Oh, that's not too bad. So I'll make it, put a little bit more where I want it on here. All of this will look better when I finish with it. And we will have some light coming down there. So that's the actual bulb. So double click to rename the layer. There's the bulb. Where did that go? I did not delete you. What is happening? No, I did not delete you. Where have you gone? Oh, it's disappeared. Right, I'll put it back again. Crying out loud. Right, let's make that much bigger. And it was there in the middle, still making it bigger. There we go. We had it in there like that. That being the bulb. Right, then we had extra layers. The reason that we put these on extra layers was that you may want to adjust the intensity selectively. So I would want on there to have a glow coming off that. And how I picked that orange was I actually picked it up from elsewhere in the image, like down here on that brick. And now I know it looks well overdone, That is softness as far as we can go. And we actually have a flow here as well. So we could put some around the edge like that. I know that's looking shockingly bad at the moment, but don't worry. All right, new layer. This one's going to be the downlight, so we'll just have some downlight there. And then another one, new layer. And I better start naming these. So these will be, this one's going to be on the street. That one's going to be the downlight. Downlight. And this one was the glow, wasn't it? Always name the layers. Right, and on the street, what I want down here is some glow off that, like that. And then to make it realistic, we use the blend modes. Exactly the same as we would in Affinity Photo. So in here, we changed it to overlay. Now you're not going to see that unless I do the glow first. So I'm going to do the glow first and change it to overlay. But you can see at that point that inside, it's far too much. Far too much inside. But now, the zoom on this is shocking. So if Acorn's developers flying me to watching, the zoom's shocking. Right, go to the bulb, and at the moment we've got that as hard light, but if I make that overlay, that makes it more intense on the middle, but not too overdone. Then we've got the downlight, so again I'm going to make it overlay, but probably take the opacity down a little bit. And the final thing I've got to do is the streets, and that's again going to be overlay. And then you could alter that if you wanted. So you could take that down a little bit. And there we go. Exactly the same image, exactly the same result, exactly the same techniques to do it, just two different applications. The gaslight is gaslighting me. It disappeared. Now I will say this is version 7 and it's very, very stable as an application generally. It also has great tutorials and manuals, which is quite unlike most of them. I'd say with this one, there's a big change in the interface. It looks very flat. But as I say, it's having something there that can take over in an emergency where you can't get something installed, where how to do the job you're trying to do in application A, you can do in application B, Acorn, because all of the shortcuts are the same, all of the terminology is the same, you can get the job done. You can totally get the job done. Some of the new features that they've added to this are to do with exports and things like that. So we will do a deeper dive on it in the future. I just wanted you to be aware it is available today because it is available at 50% off. It is $19.99. You can get it either directly from the developer, which is Flying Meat, fabulous name, or you can get it from the App Store. And it's $19.99 no matter where you get it from. How's our baby?
She's resting on the bed.
She's resting.
She wanted a drink.
She's in a reclined position. Usually she's in here upside down. So there we go. So I will save that, and it's saying I don't want to save it without layers. So I need to do a save as on that and save it not as a JPEG. I'll save that as an Acorn file, which means I can carry on editing it in the future. But there is Acorn. So it's handy because it is so similar in terms of shortcuts and features to Affinity Photo, many others, Photoshop, you name it. Right, next thing to have a look at. Oh, Vivaldi. Now, you know we love Vivaldi. Vivaldi is a free browser, and development on it is so amazingly quick. So we not long ago had the 3.6 update, and when they bring out features, oh boy, do they bring out features. This one has been focused on the speed of it. So they are reckoning much, much, much faster. In terms of opening tabs, they are saying that originally it would take, so if you look at the Vivaldi 3.6, all the way round that ring, but now it's twice as fast. Can I confirm that? It feels faster. It certainly feels faster. And it's 26% faster to get a new window. That was one of the issues with Vivaldi. It didn't feel quite as snappy as Chrome, but then Chrome has its own issues all over the place. But it feels better. I've been using it for 2 days now and it feels better. It's also twice as fast on the M1 processor. So if you have an M1 processor, you will be glad to hear that. Now, in terms of speed, I can't really demonstrate the speed to you because you'd need to compare it with how it was. But there's a feature, and I don't know if I've mentioned it before. So what I'm going to do, that's not Vivaldi. Vivaldi's kicking around somewhere. There's Vivaldi. I've got a few pages open in Vivaldi, and I'm going to show you a couple of features that I don't think I've ever demonstrated before. So let me get Vivaldi onto the right screen. So this is how I use it. I do have down the side the tabs. So I move the tabs from the top when I came to this computer, because I have a lot of pinned tabs. So those tabs at the top are pinned. And when they are pinned and the tab names are at the top, you don't see the name of them. And it was difficult to work with. So the first thing I did was move them to the left. But that's probably the only difference between what I'm looking at and what you're looking at. In terms of, so if you look at this Brooklands one here, some of the things in here that we have looked at that are just like, wow, that's good, is if I wanted to send a QR code, I can just copy the QR code and then paste it wherever I need to paste it. So it's very integrated in terms of what it can do. Another thing is, let me try and get that up. Where are you? Over there. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Why isn't that responding? Never mind, I'll use the view. In the status bar at the bottom, that's exactly the shortcut I was trying to use. Right, you have the ability to take screenshots as well. You can capture the page. And you can capture a whole page, a selection. You can choose what format you have it. It's a very, very, very good browser to start with. But there is also, and I don't think I've demonstrated this before, so that's why I thought I'd demonstrate it today. We all know that there's Alfred. There's Alfred. Or Spotlight. So let's say I want to go to my website and do that quite easily by just putting in the URL. And that will then open up that in my default browser. But that doesn't help me in here when I've got 20 tabs open and I'm trying to find the comms page. Or I'm trying to find After Hours 120 and I've got all these tabs open. Another thing you would want to do with your browser is going to a specific location where you know where that location is fine, as long as you can type the location out. But maybe it's somewhere that you went yesterday and you would like to go back and you can't remember what the URL was. Things like that. Well, there is a built-in way to help you with that. You see the shortcuts working now. Playing with my mind. It wasn't before. Right. Command and E. And when you press Command and E, you get basically Alfred in your browser. So this is only going to look through and offer you things from within Vivaldi. And it's going to start off at the top by telling you where you actually are. So you're at Brooklands 196.2.0 at the moment. Then it says tabs 9. You've got 9 open tabs. And you can navigate between those open tabs with this. Beyond that, it's got bookmarks, speed dial. That is set to be my home page. So it lets me get to my home page fairly quickly. But if you look at that, that's 10 options that you've got that are listed. But if you look over here, you have a scroll bar and you are going to be able to scroll. And what's underneath these, so open tabs, homepage, are commands. So if you can't remember the shortcut for show me the status bar at the bottom, then you can get to it from here. So you've got all of that in there. But it gets even better than that because they're just commands. It's just a fast way to do it. So, for instance, if I wanted to go to... I don't know if it would let me do this. Shall we try it? And somehow it's managed to sort itself out, to be honest, to be on Bing. I'm working on that. Right, but there is WhatsApp. And it tells me that I last accessed that on the 12th of the 12th, which is totally wrong. But if I do that, it will actually take me to WhatsApp in a browser. And there's all the stuff from WhatsApp. You can see I've got loads and loads of things to look at. I'll get there. I will. So it's actually searching through your history. Well, it's at it. Are you actually going to move back to where you were? That's better. Right. So if I bring that back, Command and E, I can start searching. So I know that I particularly had 119. So if I search for 119, you can see down here, that's 119 of the MacBites podcast. That's a while ago. But there is After Hours 119, and that's the one that I'm looking for. So I can do that and it will instantly load that in. And there's the show from last week. I just think that is pretty amazing. I'm using that all the time, even if I just want a tab that's open. And then it goes to that tab. I think that is genius. If you're using another browser that does not have that, you are still in with a shout, because there is an app that I've been using, and I think I did a demo of it, which is this one here, Saka, S-A-K-A. And that basically gives you similar functionality. So if I bring that up, it shows me my open tabs. That's one way to go. It will search bookmarks, it will search history, but the problem with it is you've actually got to switch from I'm searching tabs to I'm searching history to I'm searching bookmarks. That's a bit of a pain because the Command and E, which is built in here, and you sometimes come up, don't you, and you sometimes go away. The Command and E, which is built in, is far neater, it feels snappier, and I don't have to fiddle around with, at the top edge, going from page to page to page, thinking, oh, this is this and this is that bit. I don't need to do any of that. If you are using Vivaldi, that is amazing. It's amazing. It's obviously one of those things you're going to have to commit to memory, you know, to remember that it's there and remember to use it. But once you do, it's like, how can I live without it? And then you go like to Firefox and Chrome and you think it's not there. And you want it back. You want it across every browser. But I just thought I would demonstrate that. That is so useful. So let me know in the chat, which browser are you using and why? I have a love-hate relationship with Chrome, and I'm getting to have a love-hate relationship with Firefox because I cannot get for Firefox some of the best extensions. So a couple of weeks back we talked about, inadvertently, it was when we were in the Notion thing and Sarah had a need to save bookmarks, or she thought she did, but she actually really wanted them in Notion, and I use this extension to do that with, where I can copy a link of all the tabs that are open, all the tabs in the current window in Markdown as an unordered list. Boom, done. And that is so good for putting stuff in our show notes or our review of the year notes. Hold that thought, we'll be looking at that shortly. But I cannot get that extension for Firefox. So obviously Vivaldi has the benefit of not only having all of its own features like that, but it supports Chrome extensions, so you can extend it in a standard way as in Chrome and not an unstandard way as in Firefox, where I cannot get that extension to work. So let me know, browser-wise, let me know. I will shift this out of the way. I do have access to the chat if I click that button. So let me know in the chat, I can see it. Command and E. Yes, it was Command and E, which is just brilliant. It's brilliant. Can't say any more than that. It's fantastic. Right, so craft notes. Is young Jonathan still awake? Let me know, Jonathan. Right, I know what you're thinking. I do not need another notes app. I've got plenty of notes app already. I actually use the majority of these, not all of them. Right, in the middle, we've got the Apple Notes app, and people use that because it's there. Don't they, Mike? Mike said to me, use that because it's there.
It's just there.
It's just there, and it can do a job for you, particularly if you do one thing with it. So, for example, if Mike's putting a shopping list together, and that's the only job he ever does with Apple Notes, as soon as he opens Apple Notes, there's the shopping list, and he just adds another item to it.
Well, last night I wanted to make some notes from the Catenium meeting. Just remind us that I had to tell you about. So I just put them in Apple Notes because it was there on my phone. Couldn't use my iPad because I was watching the game.
Well, that's understandable. No, I just think with Apple Notes, it doesn't matter which device I mean, obviously, as long as it's an Apple device. But it doesn't matter which device it is. It's there, it's configured, it's ready, and it's ready to go. If you're logged in with your iCloud account and you've enabled that, then that's it. You don't need to do any more. It's just there. Obviously, there's a little bit more effort required with something like Evernote. But Evernote, so we're moving up one to Evernote. Evernote was one that was hugely popular as soon as it came out and became a de facto standard for notes. Two problems with Evernote. It's still as good as it was in 2010. Is that a good thing? No, because they've not particularly moved on much until... So, if you were happy with it in 2010, you never wanted in to add any features, then you're pretty much good to go. But when they did start tinkering around, trying to improve it, they've gone backwards in terms of what that app can do. They've done a Final Cut Pro on it. They've ripped features out. So if you rely on the audio recording features, forget it. You can play a file, but you're going to have to download it first, and you can't record one full stop. So they've actually rolled back so they can move forward in the future. But at the moment, we're in this window of time where Evernote might not be cutting it anymore. The other thing they did was limit the number of not installs. You can have the thing installed as many times as you like, but you're not going to be able to edit the notes in more than 3 installs. So as soon as you've got some kind of restriction, that's a problem as well. So that was what was wrong with Evernote. The others I've actually grouped together. So Notion, Roam and Obsidian, which is the 4th column from the left, they are all concerned with linking notes together and creating what has become known as a Zettelkasten, which is literally, I do believe it's German for slipbox. So Zettelkasten, it's where you would put unlinked notes, but generate links between them, not exactly automatically, but not far off automatically. Whereas with other note systems, your notes tend to be siloed somewhat. So those have a different way of working. I would not use Notion for random notes because it takes too long to get to the point that I'm actually putting the note in. I've forgotten what I was doing. The ones in column 2, so moving back there, they were all if you want to take notes with your pencil. So there's Good Notes, there's Notability, and there's OneNote. And if it's just I want to pick up a pencil and I want to write that note, then they are probably the best way for you to go. Then going into column 1, we've got the ones that are different, the ones that provide something else. So DevonThink is great at scanning. Do I want to scan straight into Notion? No, I don't. I can't scan straight into Evernote. You used to be able to, but you have to have a particular model of scanner. And I'm not investing £800 to scan a receipt for £800 for the scanner, probably. But DevonThink has its place. Then there's Margin Note. Margin Note is fantastic if you have got a PDF and you want to kind of work with that PDF and take information out of it and manipulate it, but still have access to the PDF side by side with what in essence is a mind map. It's very, very specific. Bear is beautiful. Bear is absolutely beautiful. As long as you're prepared to organise your notes by tags and nothing else. So if you think about Evernote, you've got tags in Evernote, you've got tags in Bear, but Evernote has notebooks. And with notebooks, you can share them. Bear has the concept of tags, but no notebooks. I tried Bear. It's beautiful. Couldn't find a thing. So I left that alone. And the ones that I've put on the other column on the right are just some extras. There's Google Keep. Google Keep is incredibly simple. It's fast. It does a specific job. Google Keep to me is something I might use for the shopping list. Below that, there's Simple Note. And Simple Note, I have configured and ready to go. There are no notes in it, but it is installed on all my devices. I have logged in and it sits there. It sits there for when something else breaks, like Notion, which did literally 10 minutes before we went on air, didn't it? So if I want to capture a note, and there's another reason that I have Simple Notes out there. If I have to work on a Windows machine and I want to transfer information backwards and forwards, that isn't going to work with Bear, is it? It's not going to work with Apple Notes. I'd have to fiddle to make it work with Notion. It's not going to work with DevonThink. So I have Simple Notes sat there with no notes but ready to go. And what Mike was saying was, well, it's just there. I take just there a step further. I make sure that another one that isn't just there is just there. I install it and I configure it, and it's there for when there's a calamity. But none of those, in any way, shape or form, match up to this one. So the question mark at the bottom is Craft, which was released in November 2020. And there was a lot of furore about it. It's beautiful, you need to try it. And I'm like, no, the last thing I need is another Notes app. The last thing I need is another Notes app. But Craft persuaded me. I thought, I'll just have a look at it. Just have a quick look. Quick look. Not moving. Not using it. Just a quick look. That's it. Quick look. You know the rest, don't you? It's a block-based note system. Now, block-based means something like Notion, where each individual chunk of text, be it a heading, an image, a toggle, whatever it is a block. Now, Notion works exactly the same way. So concept-wise, very little between them. But Craft is not Notion, and a Notion is not Craft. So people who are like, I'm upset because Notion's had a little bit of downtime, I'm going to move to Craft. I'm like, if you've got databases, that's not going to work. In any way, shape or form, that is not going to work. But if you were using Notion like Evernote, because, remember when Notion was the Evernote killer? Yeah, that. I thought there was scope for both of them at the time. I didn't think that Notion was an Evernote killer. But if you choose to use it that way, then Craft could replace Notion for you. Is it worthwhile? Well, there is a free personal plan, which is 1,000 blocks. So that is exactly the same as Notion used to be. But Notion obviously removed that 1,000 block limit with a view to getting subscribers. Although subscribers is the wrong word because they're not paying. They are free accounts and you have unlimited blocks. The problem has been with that, for the people like Mike and I who are paying and paying handsomely for Notion, the impact of so many people having unlimited free accounts is that Notion is down more than it ever was before. So what they've kept here is that the free personal account is 1,000 blocks. I hope they stick to that, because otherwise it's going to have an impact on all of us. You can still do an export, a simple PDF export, and trust me, I will show you that. It is beautiful. It will sync across all devices, so there's no limit in terms of an Evernote limit. And you have inline markdown, which is to do with the syntax, which I'll show you. Then obviously there's the professional one. Now it works out $3.75 if you pay annually. And you get unlimited usage with that, so the number of blocks is completely unlimited. You can search within your document. You've got even more fantastic export features. You can upload your original media, and you get extras in terms of card effects and things like that. The team one is coming soon, but we've not heard any more about that. Now, given I've done the pricing up front, and you need to know that before we head off into anywhere else. 1,000 blocks might do you if what you're doing with it is just somewhere to put quick notes, but quick notes that look nice and work well. That. Why did I have a look at it? Well, you will remember the great Notion outage of 2021, which happened for 5 hours on a Friday.
One?
Yeah, well, that's true. But this one was the 5-hour epic. For those 5 hours, I had zero access to my notes. Nothing. And I'm getting increasingly fraught, thinking, it's coming up to showtime. You have got all my notes. You have my running order. You have everything, and I can't get access to it. So what I was looking for was something with an offline mode, for when the electric goes out, things like that. It's been a bit of a week, hasn't it? So if I don't have an internet connection, or I don't even have electric, I want to be able to carry on working. What I did at this point, and if you've been following along with this, I went to Obsidian, and I used Obsidian for about a month, and it was great. It had the offline mode, had all the other features that I wanted. It was great, but visually not great. It was just okay. But what I was specifically looking for was two things. Well, three things actually. An offline mode that worked. I needed it to be fast. And what I mean by this is not fast in terms of sending data up to a cloud and all that stuff. I needed it to be fast in use, that I could work quickly. Notion's fine, but because I've got to navigate my way around to where I want to be, it can actually be slower than just putting text into a text file. I wanted something that was quite fast. The other thing that was a bit weird to me, this came as quite a shock to me. Craft itself is an iPad first design. Now, as you all know, I am most definitely not an iOS only fundamentalist. But when I need to work on an iPad, I need that experience to be a good one. And with Notion, it's great reading it, but when you come to actually work with it, it can be quite frustrating. I can only see one thing at a time. Nothing feels buttery smooth with Notion. Now, I'm of the opinion there are very, very few iOS apps that feel buttery smooth, lovely. I would rather use it on an iPad than a desktop. Very, very few. Like zero, probably, because I'm a desktop girl. But I actually, with this is the first time, make a note of the date, I'm actually going to say it. This is the first time I have actually chosen to pick up an iPad to work rather than use my desktop. It's that good. So let's go and actually have a look at it and show you what it can do. Right. Kim's quite right. I can get through the 1,000 block limit pretty fast. Me too. It doesn't do family sharing as far as I can remember. But don't quote me on that. I don't think it does family sharing. Right, but have a look at it first anyway. See what you think. So what I've got here is my craft window, which I will get and share with you. Pretty much everything that I've got in there. This is the all documents view. So we're looking at all of it. Okay. Doesn't tend to make that much sense in there in terms of it's just blah. But you can choose how it displays. So you can have it all as little cards, which looks much more like Evernote. Or you can go in and have it as a list view. So there we go for a start. Oh, it does have family sharing. I stand corrected. Right, it does. In that case, that's really good value. Right, so these are the notes that I've got. These are all my notes. But actually, all I wanted to do with this was have the ability to make a new note quickly. That was all I wanted. So it's pretty quick. That's it. You've got a new note. And if you ignore the sidebar, it looks a little bit Notion-esque. Also Evernote-ish, doesn't it? But this is just a page. So first thing it needs is a page title. So let's put test page. Then you have stuff that you can put in it. So I'm going to get rid of this so you can see just how basic it is. But you can have content that you put in here. Now, obviously, if it's text, it is simple to add text. And that is literally just text. Now, if you think of something like Obsidian or Rome, everything has to have a bullet point. Everything has to be drill downable. No, it's just text. So you could write in here, write a document, a full document. It would look amazing. So you can add simple text, but you can also start with a dash and add a bullet point. You can put a number in and start with a number. So that one would be a numbered list. Now I know this is not very exciting, is it? It's fine. It's not very exciting. But it can also do a whole lot more. So it supports Markdown. So if I wanted to put in 2 hashes and press enter, now I'm going to type a level 2 heading, or what Craft calls a subheading. And then when I go underneath that and start typing, it goes back to text again, assuming that after you've put a heading, you want to put some text. You can also start adding things with the slash key. So just like Notion, press the slash key and you get this menu. And from there, you can navigate. Instead of navigating up and down, you can also navigate left and right. So it's got a list, and when I press the right arrow, it can be a to-do item, a toggle list, a bullet list, a numbered list, or no list, so I can turn the lists off. You can do everything in multiple ways as well. So if I do that and say that's a to-do item, but this one is now just plain text again. But if I start with an X and then press enter, it makes it a to-do. Now, normally that is that, and that works as well. So if you're coming to this from Notion, that works as well. And then you can mark these as obviously done when you've done them. So simple enough as it goes. Let's go back to that. You can change your text styles, and you can do it from that / and choose whatever you want. Cards and pages will come on to have a look at. Then you've got decorations. So if you want it to be a block or you want to give it focus, and again, I will come on and show you what each of those does. You've got all your colours, and you have many more colours. So Notion's colours are a little bit bland. You've got indentation, so you can increase or decrease the indent. You can change the alignment of the text. You can change the font, but only, literally, I just leave that alone. You've not got much option. Many of them look exactly the same, but you can do that. You can put in times and dates. So all from this / menu. You can insert your media either from Unsplash or get files from the net. Insert snippets. So a code block, a plain text snippet, insert a text formula. Separators, and you're not even limited to just one. You've got 4 separators. So you have the standard one, and then you've got 2 lighter and 1 much thicker. So if we put in the strong one and then put in the regular underneath, and you'll see the difference. And all I'm doing is typing sep per separator. So /sep, and we'll go for the extra light one, which is literally just 3 dots in the middle. A nice touch. It's well thought out in terms of the design. But if you're looking for the power of Notion, it's not that. What I wanted was to be able to throw together a running order and have that running order available to me offline. Have my notes available offline. What I then did with what I did was copy and paste it and put it in Notion. So this to me was a kind of intermediate step at the beginning. That was the intention of it at the beginning. So let's go back to that / menu, make sure we've had a look at everything that was on it. You can clear all the styling. You've actually got actions. So you could do your copy, paste, etc. from never having to leave the keyboard. And this was designed on an iPad first. So everything that you're looking at here works exactly the same way on the iPad. The iPad supports split view, and you can work with other applications in the other half of the view, or 2 copies of Craft, so you can look at 2 notes. Right, I will show you some of the stuff that I've actually got in here so you can see how pretty it is. There's actually a how to use Craft section. So it starts off with welcome to Craft, and when you look at this you can see it's got highlighting on this, so this has got a background colour on it. Here's one of the separators. We've got inline emojis, we've got inline bold. You come down here and these have got, it says how it's different. These are individual pages that live inside this page. So look at the top here on the left. If I go down there and double click, it takes me into that, and now I can move back. When I come here, welcome to Craft was the page that we were on. This page is nested inside that page. Obviously, Notion can do that. Evernote, no. So all that's in here, including the images, so we've got our images, we've got PDFs, all links are all in there in a separate page of its own that we can move back up, and you can see there are actually 5 pages that live inside there. So anything in here from the very, very basic to more complicated, where it's got links in it and highlights in it and stuff like that, is possible. Now, my intention when I started was I'll use it very basic like this, just very basic, don't need much. But if you think it through, right, let's say it's a test page, but let's say it's a test page for After Hours 120, which is where we're at today. Right, so what did we do first? Well, we always do the week at MacBites HQ. And then what did we do after that?
Terry wants to know if you can import Evernote notes into it.
Yes, you can, but I wouldn't try doing that en masse. I will show you how I got a hugely complicated thing into it and how I'm doing it and why I'm doing it that way. So hold that thought. That's last week's, that's not this week's, that's this week's. All right, I started off with Acorn, didn't I? So I'm going to put Acorn in. And then I'm going to put in Vivaldi. So this is possibly how I would start in the week. And after that, we're looking at Craft, and then Mike's got his Excel, and then we're looking at Notion 2021, and it's a subscription tracker. There we go. Now, not impressive, but obviously I can select these. And if I open this up, I've got a whole formatting panel here. So I could make them bullet points, couldn't I? That looks much better, but not really. Because each of these, like with Vivaldi, I might want to put more information in. Now, what I like about this that Notion doesn't do, each of these is actually a header, isn't it? Each of these is going to be a section of the show. And I can turn them in to a subheader because this is a H1, these are H2s. But look, it retains the bullets. Oh, that's good. Right, I'm going to get rid of the bullets and just show you, in terms of, in Notion you can have one format. Something is either a heading 1, a heading 2, a heading 3, or it's a bullet, it's a numbered thing, or it's a toggle. But it can't be both. Okay. Andrea says, can you import your iOS notes into this? You've got so many. Not en masse as far as I'm aware. But again, there's quite a lot to be gained with copy and paste. And I think down the line, this is very, very new. What they're focusing on at the minute is making the editing experience and the usage experience as good as they can get. Down the line, I'm sure they will provide some kind of import because that's going to be a hurdle that stops people adopting it. So down the line, I think en masse would be possible. At the moment, I don't see a way to import en masse. Let me have a look. No. I'm using it slightly different in terms of I started with the intention that this would be like a scrap pad. And I think if you start with that intention, obviously it grew from there. But I have no intention of ditching Notion or anything yet because it doesn't have tables. And while I could run the show like this, like I'm showing you now, you also know that this is what this show actually did look like in Notion. So this is our 120 in here. Mouse pointer, there we go. Right, so all this information in here and all of this information coming in from down here, I have to drill into this to see it. So I actually only wanted a scrap pad. I think it's going to be more than that moving forward, but so hold that thought about that.
Andrea wants to know if you can import iOS notes into it.
That's a question I've just answered. If you were only listening, Mike, things would work much better. No, so we've got importing from iOS and we've got importing from Evernote. At the moment, it doesn't particularly import from anywhere. But if I show you what it can do, that might give you a few ideas of how you can use it while we wait for the import. I think the import will be coming, it's just a matter of when. Right, so I've got these as subheadings at the moment, but what I absolutely love about it is that I could have those as toggles. So now it's a heading and an empty toggle. So here I might put like comb gate, and in there, what was after that? What else did we have? We had Mike's mum. So I could actually put things underneath, and then if I want to put more information, I can actually open these up, which I think is amazing. I would love to be able to do that in Notion. That would just be fantastic. I could just then close it up. It would make it easier inside Notion, and then I can put more information in here. That's going to make another toggle. So at that point, I can turn that toggle off. And I can make that whatever I want. If I want to put to-dos in it, I can put a to-do in it. I can make it a bullet. I could make it a number inside the toggle. But the beauty of it is not in doing that, because you can do that in virtually any notes app. It's the fact that that is a heading and I can toggle it that's different. So that's what I can do with that in there. All right, there's other things that you can do in terms of marking this up in some kind of way. So I'm going to leave these. Let's fold those up and say they're going to be bullet points. So we'll get these two and we'll just make them bullet points instead. Great. Right, the Acorn one, and I'm deliberately doing this in terms of tabbing in. We'll see what happens when I sort this out. But that one was turning on the lights, wasn't it? It was the street light. And Vivaldi was Command and E. Love that. Love that. If there was one key, it's that one, Command and E. Right, so I'm basically building up a note, aren't I? Building it up. What am I showing you in Craft? Well, that would be, you know, compare with Notion. Features. Pricing. Right, so I'm building that up. If only I could type. Mike's doing financial functions. So financial functions with Mike. And then we've got the subscription tracker down below. So I'm building up the contents for that. And that was what I wanted it for. But the problem is for me, it gets overwhelming too quickly. Once it gets below the fold, I'm like, oh no, it's too complicated. You can use lots of different things here to try and solve that problem. So let's say I wanted that heading to actually be red, then I can make the heading red. Maybe if something's finished, I want to say that's finished and that's green. So let's make it red if it's not finished, right? You can do all of that. But it's still, as far as I'm concerned, a little bit overwhelming when there's that much on the page. So what you can do here that's different than this top one, the top one is a toggle. And everything that's underneath it, what else did we have? Totally forgot what happened to the, the power cut. Power cut. Right, everything there will toggle. But obviously in here, that's not a toggle. So anything that I put down in there, like this Craft one with 3 features, not a toggle. But if I do that, that's now a group. And I can open that. I should be able to open that. There you go. I've grouped it and it allows me to drill down into it. So in essence, it's turned it into a page by grouping it together, which is just fabulous. If you want to do that, that is fabulous. I will undo that. I will show you where this does come into its own, but that's something that you can do with it. You could also here, if these are like outstanding, you could turn them into a block. And then I can highlight them and then they all go pink in the background. Okay, so you can do that with it as well. Another thing you can do is if Mike wants to focus on the Excel bit, you can use a focus decoration on that together with colour, together with everything. Now, this makes far more sense when you take it to the next level, which is beyond this. So I'm going to undo a couple of those things. This is how I would do it for absolute real. In fact, let me have a look at last week's. Yeah, that'll work nicely. So I will show you that isn't bad as far as it goes. It's got the colour, it's got the toggles. I can use headings and I can use toggles and numbers and to-dos all mixed in together. Loving it. Right. But what I found even better was in MacBites, I went in here. This is last week's. And I made my notes look like that. I double click these, it takes me down. There's all my notes. But doesn't that look amazing? Oh, I like that. That to me is much better than just a page of text staring at me. You want to see that really come to life. Don't worry about what I'm doing. I'm going to explain that. But we have that. I've got the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter and fourth quarter, all in nice different colours. At a glance, I know instantly what I'm looking at. When I go into these, the ones that are black are dealt with, the ones that are red are to be dealt with. Yeah, we're a little bit behind with the review of last year. Might have it done by Christmas. That's the idea. But it's just a way that is just amazing. Now this doesn't look so good, does it? It was all right. Now it doesn't look great. So how can we make it look as good as all of the others? I'm going to take them all back to black. I'm going to start with the top one. Right, it's all to do with how you nest this information. And you have options under groups for pages and cards. So I'm going to turn that one into a card. So it offers me different types of cards. There's the first one here, which has a little icon just in a circle. There's this one that will give me a bigger preview. There is this one, which gives me an even bigger preview, but it's still square. As you scroll across, you've got a full width preview, and what you will see in that area there is a preview of the content of it. It isn't a random preview, it's actually a preview of the content that you add. And then you've got a really huge one. You want it absolutely huge. What I've tended to do is opt for the one with a preview, which is that one. Now, it looks a little bit wishy-washy at the moment, doesn't it? You can then style it. Once you've selected a card style, you can style it. So this one's modern. You've also got classy, which basically changes the font, and fun, which makes it look like a flashcard from when I was at school. It's bordering, isn't it, that, on Comic Sans. So we'll leave it at modern and leave it be. But you don't need to stop there. You can also set the background. And there's lots of background colour options. So if you're a visual person, you're going to love this. You're going to love all you can do with this. I went for very bold colours, so it was obvious what it was. But if you want a kind of gentle pastel look, then you can. I went for this blue as being, as far as I'm concerned, after hours blue. But you can down here use built-in options, so they're basically pictures, or you can even load your own in. So again, if you're a visual person, you're going to love this. But I want mine set to that colour and then apply the style. And it is literally a style. But look what I've got. It's still, I've got this toggle, and the toggle is the stuff underneath. So that's not actually, oh look, power cut with a space. There we go. That's not actually what I want with that. Because I want this information underneath that. I want it inside there. I don't want to toggle to see it. So that does not need to be a toggle. This information underneath, I can grab that, just cut it, because this is a page. And when I double click to go into there, I can paste it into there. And now when I go back, you can see the preview. It's actually got the right stuff in it. But this is still a block on this page that I can juggle around in. Oh, look at this. Andrea's loving it. Couldn't get to grips with Notion. Probably the tables. The tables I don't think in this are needed. This is very much a visual notes thing. Debbie's loving it too. Not using Notion anymore. And Sarah's liking it. Could put my notes in from my course. You could, and it would work, given the size and scale of the courses, some of the courses that you're doing. I think Notion is probably better placed, but it would certainly be easier to put this in, because you can do this just as simply as I'm doing it now from an iPad. That is, when you see that, that's amazing. And it just has a buttery smooth feel to it. That's what I'll say. It feels right. Notion can be a little bit clunky. Powerful, but clunky. This is not clunky in any way. So what I do with these other things that I've got here is make those into a card. And I'm going to use the same colour on each and every one of them, but you wouldn't need to. So if, for example, with the Vivaldi one, you want to change it to like Vivaldi red, which is basically that one, isn't it? Then you could do. Oh, wrong one. Wrong one. So let's format that. I prefer the second one. There we go. I've done that with the Acorn one as well, haven't I? Or we can go in and fix it. You just need to select it. Right. Let's get the craft one and turn that into a card. I'll have that after hours colour. And, oh, Excel could be green, couldn't it? Because, you know, just because. Do we have a nice Excel green? Do you know we don't? We have greenish, don't we? Not totally green. That's not Excel green. And that's more bluey. Oh, that's the nearest we're going to get, I think. That or that. Oh, let's leave it at that and apply the style. And the last one I'm going to do this to is the Notion one. So we'll do that. We'll make that after hours blue. And now we just need to put stuff in the right place. Oh, Tony. I've had this for a while. May start using it now. Sometimes you need to be inspired. There you go. Sarah says, what is a block? Is that a page? Everything's a block. You will burn through those 1,000 blocks. You would have done on Notion. You will literally burn through them. 1,000 blocks is either you're using one page, you're deleting everything when you've finished. So if I were to copy this and paste all of this in Notion, then I could delete it from here. If I'm only going to use this as like a scratch pad. But otherwise you will burn through it. Right, so let's get all this stuff in the right place. So, cut that. Oh, Tracy, you are spot on. The extra poster item was the runner icon. I tried to hide him. Right, so Mike's doing financial functions, so I'll paste that in there. These were the craft features that we're going to use. So again, I am selecting them and cutting them and putting them inside craft. And my notes are suddenly looking a whole lot better. Each one is self-contained in its own little area. In fact, I've got them all now. There we go. No, I haven't. Streetlight. That was going in Acorn, wasn't it? So let's put that in Acorn. And obviously in here, I could then put the images if I wanted to. So I'm just dragging and dropping that image in. Boom, that was fast, wasn't it? And that, again, it's just so smooth. So smooth. Right, so let's go back up here. You could then organise these in some kind of way if you wanted to. So if I wanted to put in here a standard line and put, say, Mike's underneath it, because that's nothing to do with me, then what Mike's doing is down here and what I'm doing is up there. And each of those is an individual page. So it's really the look of the thing. But sometimes the look of it totally helps you in terms of how you're working. So what does this look like for real? Something that we've actually built. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and recreate something just to show you what a problem this particular item was. But before I do, I'm going to show you a couple of extra features. So up here, we've seen all my documents. These are all my documents here. One thing I did as I was reading up on this was I read a review on Mac Stories. And I wanted to make sure that I could, highlight that in whatever way that I wanted. And that is what that looked like. At the moment, there isn't a clipper to compare with the Evernote clipper. But as I said, this thing has only been out a couple of months. There will be down the line. People are loving this. But it's one of those things where you look at it and you think, wow, look at all that can do. That's perfect for me to read that and mark it up. So that is fantastic. But you might need inspiration or you might need guidance in how best to set it up. But it isn't like Notion in terms of the onboarding's nice, and Notion can be very, very overwhelming. Right, so that was one that I did copy and paste in, and then I put the images in it. And you can decide, that image is at the top of the page, but with the images, you can decide, so let's get a full one, that one, whether it's automatic, which will show it to you like that, whether you have it as a large image, and you can say whether it fits in terms of you can see the entire image, or if you do a different type of fit and it's working with that one because of the scale of it, whether it's focusing in on the middle. So you've got lots of options when it comes to the images. So that is an article. Right, but in here we're looking at my setup. So this is all the documents. These are the starred documents. This is the inbox where I haven't put anything anywhere else. And then I've created my para system, my standard para system, which is projects, areas, resources, archive. This how to use craft one was there automatically. And I've changed the view. It would normally look like that. So that's how you can, that will be in your account as soon as you create it. So you can think, oh, Elaine demonstrated these blocks. This is what these blocks look like when they're styled slightly differently. Right. So that's what I've got in here. Underneath projects, I've got folders. You can have a different icon on the folder. So the Mad March one's a standard one. The other ones are holding information for my upcoming or literally just previous projects. And the reason that I did that, again, was the offline aspect. Notion has no offline mode at all. Sometimes if you're on a page and you lose your connection, you can carry on regardless, but it'd be 50-50 if that was ever written back. Both Mike and I have lost data when you lose your power or you lose a connection. So it can happen. Because this is local and I can carry on working and it does have an offline mode, that's why I'm putting my stuff in it. I do intend to take it back and put it into Notion purely for completeness, and we couldn't run the show without tables. Maybe Craft will add tables in the future. If they did, it would be amazing. But it would also be a big job to switch from one to the other. We've already had the questions about, can I take my stuff from here and there and everywhere? We would have the same issue. How much of this could we take from Notion and put it into Craft if that was where we decided to go? I don't particularly worry about things like that. I work on the principle of wherever my notes are, that's where they are. And I will take what is relevant to take, but I won't necessarily take everything, because what's the point? It's like dragging everything that you have ever had in your entire life into a new house, when you don't really need to. So for example, I'm going to try, and I'm not having much luck at the moment. Well, at least I know what that is. That would be good. Right. I'm going to try and log into a system and just explain that. How am I going to do that? I probably can, can't I? Or maybe not. I need basically to log in is what I need to do, and that's not easy with one password and doing a live session at the same time. So what I'm going to do, talk amongst yourselves, while I get that open. So here's hoping. I can't possibly... I can't speak when I'm typing my password. It's 112 characters, so bear with me. And please, God, let this work the first time.
Can you use Craft in dark mode?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can, Kim.
Whoa, I did it first time. Yay. Right, what I'm going to show you is in terms of... I'll show you the dark mode. Is dark mode over here, I believe.
I remember when all my passwords were the same 5 characters.
Oh, life was easier then. It was. Right, preferences. Appearance. What you'd move there for? Oh, so I can see it. Nice touch. Nice touch. Impressed. It's set to system by default, but yes, you can go to dark mode, and it looks pretty stunning in dark mode. Right, so yes, it does. But I'm going to have that in light mode because I'm not used to it. Right, I have got over here something that we used to use. So this is ZenKit. And in there, we've got all the stuff that we used to use when we did a session. So somewhere in here, MacBites Crew, MacBites Admin. I think it is. No, it's not. That's the calendar. There, it's MacBites. There we go. If we look at all the stuff that's in here, do I want to drag that with me to some kind of new system? Look at it. There's acres of it. No, we just left it behind. It just sits there. We do have information like this Bluetooth transmitter. So that is something that we covered. And the IKEA roof and the Bury sinkhole we covered. That would then go, we have another source of truth, but this is our working area. This is our working area. We just left it and we moved on. We do have in Notion, and you know we do. Let me get to Notion in here. Get to Notion. Oh gosh, it wants me to log in. Forget logging in. Let's go to Vivaldi where I'm already logged in. We do have in here, and you know we do. Let's go to MacBites 2.0. And in MacBites 2.0, we have specific views. So if we want to see all the MacBites we've ever done, in any kind of view, it's there. There they are. 141 in that table. And from here, we've got views that we can apply, which is where Notion excels itself, because this is coming from a database. So here's the shows. So when we look back at ZenKit, all the information that's in ZenKit, all these stories, we do not have the details of each of these stories in Notion. We left them. We just left them. So if we were to look at one of the ones that was done in Notion, so say that one, you would see all of the information and you would see all of the content items, and they are actually in Notion because this show was done in Notion. But if you go back to some of the other ones that weren't done in Notion, Untethered and Simply definitely wasn't done in Notion. You go into it, and what you've got is all the information above the fold. The important stuff. The title, the duration, the date it was released, etc. How did we manage a show less than 2 weeks after Maya died? Because that's what this show was about. But when you look at the content items, there are none. Because this was not done in Notion. So we don't particularly drag everything along with us. But I can appreciate, you can see what we did take with us was the meta, the important meta at the top. So I would say with your notes, it's a good idea, it's a good opportunity to triage them. But I can appreciate that you will need to take some things with you. Okay. But I would say start again, start at the beginning, have a think about it. And then when the importer comes, you'll be able to import exactly what you want and not bring stuff that you don't actually need. So what we're looking at here is my setup. I've also got MacBites down as an area, and I've got some MacBite stuff in there. I've got resources, nothing in there. I've got the archive, and I've got the how to use craft. Now, the reason that there's two things in the archive that look rather MacBites-ish is because these things here aren't shared with Mike. To share with Mike and let him edit with them, in Notion, that's quite expensive. You have to create like an enterprise team and you can only have one space. But what I did in here was create our Giles Thomas space. And the reason that I did it as Giles Thomas is because in Notion, if I want a Giles Thomas space for our household stuff, and then I want a MacBite space for our MacBite stuff, oh, and then a Brooklyn space for the Brooklyn stuff, that would end up costing us over £600 a year, because each space you have to have a professional account for every member. So it's around £200 a space. We only have one space. Everything has to go in Giles Thomas. In here, it doesn't. You can have as many spaces as you like. It doesn't cost you any extra. So I moved the stuff that Mike and I would be working on together. I created a new space, and that was called Giles Thomas. It had the how to use craft option, and I created a MacBites folder. And in the MacBites folder, I put the two things we would be working on. So right now, we are obviously working on the 2021 review of the year. You can see I'm a smidgen behind. Nothing happened in February. But what we do is, like this, we know that this is coming up in April. We pre-populate it and then start adding text to it. So Mike, with a free account, can just carry on regardless and edit this, add stuff to it, and he's good to go. In a space. So you create a space that's shared with people. So if you're editing a magazine with 5 other people and you work on it together, then you create a space for just that magazine. In Notion, that would cost you straight away. That was why I didn't like it when they took away the 1,000 block limit, because in taking away the 1,000 block limit, you couldn't share anything. You couldn't even test the sharing. It seemed silly to me. But that's what we've got actually in here. So there is a concept of spaces for when you need to share things with people. If you only need to share an individual page, so let's say I want to share this, you do have the ability to share and publish. So you can publish this, or you can, now publishing means, you know, take it to a PDF or something like that. The other thing you can do is make a secret link. And with a secret link, it generates a shared link. All you need to do is copy it. And if you want to go and see this page and be able to comment on it, so I'll tell you what we'll do. There's the test page that we've got. Right, let's secret link it, copy the link, and we'll put it in the chat. And if you want to go in and put a comment, keep it clean, then you can do. So you can just go and see that page and you can navigate it. So if I was in a browser, just like you guys, and I get myself a tab and I bring my browser on, put that in, that's what the test page looks like. I'm not logged in, but I can certainly see it, and it's beautiful, including the images. You could actually build a course in this or a book. It's that beautiful. It's amazing. So it will tell me, I think, if somebody puts a comment on it. So when you're there, because you're a little bit behind me, wondering what that link is, then you can do that with it. The other thing you can do is actually export it to a PDF or Markdown or a text bundle or Word. You can also send it directly to something like Drafts or Things or Ulysses. The ones that are lit up are the applications that I've actually got installed. So I have all of those applications installed. These ones underneath it can export to, but I don't have them installed right now. And when I say export to it, that is exactly what I mean. So we're going to have a look at that. I don't see any comments on it at the moment, but it says people with the secret link can add comments. So you could add comments if you want. Can you get 1,000 blocks per account? Yes, if you created 3 accounts, then you would have 3,000 blocks. In terms of, you then have to share them with yourself if you're with me. It might get messy, but you could probably do it. Oh, Peter says, Annie says she prefers Craft to Notion. Oh, maybe I did the demos the wrong way around because I'm going to do Notion later. Tracy's joining late, but uses AnyList for shopping. We did have a lovely app, didn't we, that did shopping lists? And once it died, it was on the Sony Cli.
Grocery app, wasn't it?
I thought it had the word list in it. But it was fantastic. You could share lists and everything. And this is, I mean, never mind pre-iPhone. I think it was pre-Mayo, wasn't it? It could have been the late 90s. It was amazing. Amazing. That was just a demonstration. Oh, Kim made a comment. Right, where's the comment appeared? Do I have to refresh the page? Let's go in and get 120, which is in here. No, was it? No, it wasn't, was it? It was the test one we did. Oh, crying out loud, what are you doing? I didn't want you to move over there. Don't do that. It was the demo one, wasn't it? Let me get the demo one and get it back up. Back over there. Don't move. It was the test one, so it'll be in here, won't it? I've lost it. What did I call it? Totally lost it. Test page. Where have you gone? Tell you what, shall we see if the search works? Right. Test page. Oh, see how fast the search is? Amazing. The search starts at the top with documents and then actions. So if you don't find a page, you could create the page. Then it shows you the pages. Then it shows you the blocks inside there. Just amazing. Right, there it is. Okay. I don't see any comments, and I don't know why I don't see any comments. Is it inside here? Why am I not seeing comments? Oh, we're going to have to go back and wonder why I'm not seeing it. I don't... Oh, there we go. There we go. One comment. Yay, there we go. So the comments come in line, but when you click them, you get this lovely popover, and you can then reply. All right, so we'll do that. There we go. And we now have 2 comments in here that we can see, but you also have this over here when you don't need to see it. If you can turn that off if it's dealt with, or you can turn it on, or as the page owner, you can actually delete it. Right, got it. It's now there. Excellent. So we discussed the fact you can have spaces, which is where you would have groups of people that you would deal with. I want to show you just how amazing. Oh, the trackpad's playing with itself. Right, this is a page. This is the sample page. There's also, in addition to that sample page, the lovely page down here with all of these blocks on. Now, one thing that could be an issue, if you think about it, is having everything separated. So if I want to know about styling blocks, then I've got a page and that's that information. And Notion will let you create a PDF, but it will not let you drill down. Now, if you're wondering what drill down means, let me show you this entire demo. So let's close all of this down. Let's get rid of all of these and start again. Right, what I wanted to do in here, and I did this as just, I wonder if this is possible. I would need to be in Giles Thomas, and I'd need to be in MacBites, and I'd need the review of the year for 2019, because that's completed. So this is now moving on to a practical example, and that will show you all the rest of the features. Right, in here, I would need a page, wouldn't I? I would need a page that was review of the year, and it would be 2019. Right, and we'll just fold that up at the moment. Okay, what does that look like for real right now? And here is the review of the year 2019, and this is what I had to work with. This is in Notion. So first thing I've got in Notion is an index to the review of the year. It is mighty, mighty, mighty long. I think the show was 2 hours. So there's lots of items in here. Okay. Lots of them. So let's fold that index up. These are my references. This is my style guide. And then I go into the actual content. Now, it does not have a blue background. That's before we go any further. I selected this before we started. It took me 1.5 minutes to select it. Scrolling down, there were that many lines. It took me that long just to select it, never mind copy it. But what we've got is the review of the year is a H1, January is a H2, and the story items are H3s. And that is the entire blog post. Those are the recording notes, the blog post, the lot. We record from that. That's it. The reason 2020 hasn't been done is because I can't bear looking at this. It's just look how long it is. It takes me 10 minutes to scroll down it. If I find a story and it's going to be the 13th of July, my chances of finding the 13th of July are slim to non-existent. Just look at it. It's huge. Huge. But I thought to myself, when I thought of craft, I wonder. So what I want to do is try and backfill 2019 into craft. And will it look any better? Would it be better or not? So let's copy what's selected. So it's copied. Now, in terms of this is a huge file, I've already tried this. It didn't work. Okay, it's too big. But this is what it looks like. If we scroll right down to the bottom, you can see how many lines we're talking about, 1,500. Okay. But copying it from Notion and putting it into a text editor, it's pasted it in with all the styles that I need. So at the top, we have the heading 1, then the heading 2, then the heading 3, and then each one has a heading below that. So knowing it won't quite take the entire thing, let's move down to March and let's see if it'll take the first quarter. Where are we up to now? April. Right. So let me take everything from there up to January and see if craft can handle that. It certainly couldn't handle the whole thing, but that's fine because I don't want this in craft in one almighty block. I want this organised. So let's try pasting that in. Beautiful. So literally it was a copy and a paste and we're done. Obviously I might need to do that in 2 batches or 4 batches. I don't know because I haven't actually done this totally yet. But I've got, as far as we've got, where are we down here? All right, I will take the next 3 months and then at least we've got 6. So there's April. I'll make a guesstimate that we're probably looking at around the 700, 750 mark. And hopefully there's June. So now June's a bad one. June's a bad one because it's WWDC. So hence June the 3rd was WWDC, so there's lots of links. But we'll take it up to the end of June. There's July. So let's take it up to there. So again, I'm copying 3 months worth and I'm whipping down to the bottom and pasting it in. Why have you pasted? Yeah, that's right, isn't it? Yeah, there we go. So my first thought with this was, oh, you're going to have the same problems. You know, exactly the same problems. Because look at it. But then I thought, but these can be groups and they could be grouped. I could group them. And then I thought, no, that's not what we'll do. There's January. Let's make January a card. And review of the year. Now, what did I do colour-wise? I think it was blue. Hello, Simon. I think you are about the 125th. 149th, Simon. Right, I think I did this as a kind of, it's Christmassy, so I want it blue, I want it cold. So make it look like that and apply the style. That's January. Then what I can do is go and get these stories that are all the January stories up to there and cut those and put them in January. So this is what I was saying to you about, you know, what you want to do with your Evernote notes or your other notes. Getting them in is one thing. If I could have got that in from Notion with a copy paste, great, but look at it, not good. There's going to be some manual work on this, but it's so worth doing. So February is Q1, so it's going to be blue and apply the style. And then everything in here happened in February and you get the idea. So I will do this up to, we might as well do the whole thing. Right, so let's go in there, February. Then we've got March, and all I'm doing is converting that heading into a card and choosing a colour for it. So those first are the first 3, so that's your first quarter of the year, up to there. So the next ones, and it just works out nicely that there's 3 of them, and that works for quarters. Take April, convert that, but then we're getting into spring, aren't we? So let's have a nice spring colour. Can't remember what colour I did have it. Let's go that way. Oh, gold. It was gold, and then it was very, very bright. Okay, so it was one of the bright gold ones, but it was yellowy. So that one there. And do that for April. Same business with this. Just cut this off this page and paste it into the April page. Now, you should be thinking while I'm doing this, she's going to cause herself problems here. What problems could I possibly be building up for myself with this beautiful application? Think about what I want to do with this. It needs to be a blog post. Which colour was this? It wasn't that one, was it? I think it was that one. At the moment, from Notion, I copy, I paste into Ulysses, and I've got a blog post. Simple as that. Oh, I don't need to put you up there, do I? I need to cut you and put you in May, and then we can do June and we're done. So let's get that in May. What problems could I possibly be creating for myself? It certainly looks pretty, but are we going to have a problem that by splitting this up into individual pages, you give yourself a problem? With Notion, if it's split up into individual pages, then there's no way that I can get it out of Notion as an individual page, because it doesn't let me extract PDFs from a hierarchy. But very quickly, we've got half the year done. There you go. Looks great. But in terms, and with working with it, for me, it's like, right, I'm concentrating on February. And that's it. And I can manage that. if I couldn't manage that, one option I would have, if it's something like, oh, good grief, look at this, right? I could take all of these and indent them. And then, of course, in there, we could do that, and I could actually fold up all of these stories as well. So I showed that right at the beginning, but there's an example of when that might be really useful. But back at this level, what I would do from Notion is I'd get all of this and I would copy and paste it into Ulysses, and I would have a blog post. How on earth do I do that in here? Because this isn't text. It's beautiful, but it's not text. It's fancy cards and things. So if I were to print this, if I wanted to extract this, we've already seen that I can share it with people with a link. If I do the sharing thing with a link, this is what we'd get. So let's get a browser. Let's try it in there. So I could share that with people, and if what you want to do is actually access it, amazing. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Like an ebook. Oh, loving it. And then go back to here and then click on the month you want. Click on June. There you go. So that's fantastic. That's amazing. It's beautiful. But that's not my blog post, is it? Not good. My other options down here are send to, and Ulysses was actually one of them. But what on earth would it send? Because these are pages and the other stuff's drilled down. So the equivalent of this in Notion is to drill down into it, isn't it? What would it send? Oh, let's have a look. Are you going to think of opening up? Oh, you are. There you go. So here's all my stuff over here, but it's actually opened it up where it should do, which is in the inbox. And there it is. And it's actually done it perfectly. Oh my word, that's good. It's got the H1 at the top. That should be a H2. That's probably... well, when I read the instructions as I started using it, it said that you needed a H2 on the page, but it looks like you don't, so I'll fix that. But that does actually need to be a H2, but everything else, wow. One button, done. Blog post. Good grief. Good grief. Right, but yeah, possibly no t-shirt, because yes, I can send it to Drafts, I can send it to Bear, I can send it to Ulysses. That's great. Even Devon think that's not publishing it, is it? That's not providing something pretty, pretty, pretty. So if I hit my PDF, I get at the top of it, and I get the option here to choose the page size, hide the document title if I want to. So that would actually hide the document title at the top, but I'll leave it on. You can show a watermark if you want, which is the craft watermark at the bottom, and you get a choice whether you show the page numbers or not. And what you get is, that bit there is page 1. This bit here, oh, that's page 2. That's still page 2. And as we scroll, we get to February, which is page 3, and the whole thing is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful document. So let's do a save as and stick it on the desktop, and we'll go and have a look at it. I think that's finished playing. There it is. Opened up on the wrong page again, but there's your document. Even better. It's just amazing, this. How many pages is it? This is only half the year. 17 pages worth, and it's half the year. But up here, this bit, which is our page 1 from Craft, each of these is a hyperlink to the relevant month. So if I want to go to April, boom, I'm at April. If I then think, no, that wasn't where I wanted to be, you've actually got a link back. So if I make that the full width of the page, so we can see it, that is a link back to the index. So there's May, link back to the index. June, link back to the index. And you've got the stories which had links in them. All the links are clickable. There's some links that are literally just links, like a list of links like these. all clickable, all there, and I don't need to do a thing with it. I nearly fell over when I saw that. The output was just like, wow. Wow, wow, wow. So you could actually write a complicated document in this and have each chapter as a separate chunk of the document, be it a page or a card. And then when you've finished, actually create a PDF from it that's got navigation in it. Completely navigable in there. You've got your thumbnails, so it's built the thumbnails. No outline in it. You would have to do the outline yourself, but you've got the thumbnails in there and you've got all of the links. Debbie's liking this more and more. This was my problem. I was only taking this on for a... I'll just use this as you remember a rough book at school? I had a rough book. I don't know if you have those in the States. A rough book is like ours was really cheap quality paper. It wasn't the white stuff. It was like toilet paper. It was awful.
And we had to cover them with...
wallpaper.
Well, I was going to say toilet paper. Wallpaper, yeah.
That's what we had to do. But our rough book was literally, you took it out in every lesson, and if there was anything like, oh, I've got to do that by Thursday, or I need to do this. So something that you wouldn't put in your notes for that subject, but just rough notes. That was all I was going to do with it, and then it did that to me.
I think we called them a jotter. No,
we called it a rough book. So what I was intending to do, where's it disappeared to? Let's get Craft back. What I was intending to do was literally just use it, rough things. But now in here, so just to show you that this isn't finished, 2020, but we have the index and we've got half the stuff. The stuff in here that isn't finished, that's for you to do, isn't it? These are for you to do. Yeah. So what we do is we put them in red as a placeholder and then we flesh them out like these. So this is what we're going to do in our review of the year, which should be out hopefully in the first half of this year. But, it's fun to look back. And to be honest, 2020, what can you say? But I thought of this and I thought, this isn't rough. This is going to be amazing. And that made the difference between getting the job done and not, in terms of that. So that was why I very quickly built 2021 to see, will this actually work? Will this work? Sounds like the commonplace journals you've been seeing on YouTube. Yeah, a commonplace book is fractionally different, isn't it? It's like a learning thing. It's somewhere to put stuff that you've learnt. But it's now getting confused with some people with a Zettelkasten, which is slightly different than a commonplace book. But a true commonplace book is done on cards. Obviously, I would much rather have things digital. I can't be running around with 3.5-inch cards. But the original commonplace books were cards or little journals with separate bits for. I think a commonplace book works better if it's digital. I really do. The beauty of this is the output, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you've seen what we've got in Notion right now. So where's Notion disappeared to? I think I've upset Notion and it's gone away. No, it was here, wasn't it? There it is. Right, what we've actually got in Notion right now, although this is 2019, we've got this going on and on and on and on and on. And although it looks okay, it doesn't look unlike Craft. I can't work with it. I cannot work with it. It's like, where's February? I spend the entire time looking for something. So it actually made the difference between getting the job done and not, which is what's most important. So I had no intention. I thought it'll be fine. 1,000 blocks is fine because I'm going to delete everything when I've finished. And then I saw all of that and I thought, no, you're not. No, you're not. And it's going to make the difference. The 2020 review of the year will actually now happen. Officially announce it. There you go. Oh, Charles says, I'm handling my taxes roughly like you doing your years in review regarding deadlines. Everything's flexible, Charles. It's all flexible. So that's a first look at Craft. Who's impressed? I rather like that. And do you know, we've only scratched the surface. I mean, I've shown you a project there that we're actually doing. But, you can create pages within pages and within pages and all kinds of things. The sharing is absolutely gorgeous. When you see what the sharing looks like, you're like, that's amazing. So we could actually publish that. We'll do it as a blog post, but if you look at that, that's actually a much nicer way of doing it than anything else. You have up here the fact you can turn it into night mode if you want to. And you've also got a different way of viewing it where you can actually navigate as if it's in Craft. So you can go from one to the other, or you can do this thing where it floats over the top, which is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, yes, there's things that need to be done. It needs to take imports, you know, from other notes apps, particularly Evernote and probably Notion, the way they're going. But it is absolutely beautiful, and it's as good as it feels. If you like that much, I'll show you the iPad version next week. So let me know in the chat if that would be good. Well, I've got one more freebie, haven't I? I think I've got the freebie before I hand over to Mike. I think so. But let's just wrap that up. You get out of the way. You are always in my way. Playing with my mind. So it's block based, very similar to Notion. That's what gives it the 1,000 block limit. I was only looking at it for 3 reasons. I needed something offline because Notion was playing with my mind. I wanted something that was fast to enable me to get into it and make a note. And I would have liked it to feel good on an iPad, and it does. Obviously, you've got the pricing to think about. £3.75 a month, I'll do it. I'll do it. Even though that means another subscription, I will do it. Right, freebies wise, I had an image today that was that one. And I did not do that myself. No, I got a freebie. And the freebie I got was from Deal Jumbo. It is 3 Apple Watch mock-ups. So there's the straight on one like that. There's one that's slightly to the side. And then you've got that one that I used. And the link is in Notion.
The link is in the chat.
Oh, excellent. Right, shall we see if it wants to play ball with you now, Mike?
Let me start the recording.
Right, I'll do this. So do let me know if you want to see more on Craft. That shouldn't have flown that way, but it did, so never mind.
See you, Sarah.
Night, Sarah. Right, I can see Excel. Should I be seeing Excel?
Yes.
Oh, that's a start in the right direction then. Well, do you want to kind of move your mouse so I can see if it's actually alive? It's alive! It wasn't last week, but It is this week. So I'm going to hand over to Mike.
Okay, thank you. Right, financial functions. All a bit murky and scary, and I don't even understand half the descriptions.
I'm running away scared.
Why?
I hate stuff like that. Just give it to you. Yeah, I actually do have this saying, don't I? Mike, can you just make that work?
Yeah. Right. I'm going to go to a blank cell. I'm going to hit the FX button, and I'm going to go to the financial category. And then when you look at these functions descriptions, you'll think, what is that actually talking about? Returns the number of days from the settlement date to the next coupon date. Well, these functions are used by specific people in specific job roles, not just finance people or bankers or whatever, but people who work, I guess, in investment and that kind of thing will use a lot of these functions because they are kind of specialized in terms of particular types of people that use them. But having said that, some of the financial functions can be used by the average everyday Excel user. Yes, they have specific functions and specific uses, but it's not something that you just use if you work in finance. So it is worth knowing about a few of them. And what I've tried to do is pick out some of the more useful ones for the average Excel user, something that we might use in our everyday life. So I'm going to start with the PMT function, which I have covered before, but as it's a financial function, I'll cover it again. And it's used for calculating the payment, the repayment on a loan. So it could be a mortgage, it could be a car loan, it could be an iMac loan, It could be
Why did you look at me when you said that?
I didn't look at you.
You turned around.
I'm to face the microphone. Why? Are you feeling guilty?
No, not in the slightest. No Apple event. No, nothing to feel guilty about.
It's a very expensive iMac at £10,000.
Oh, one I specced out then.
Yeah. Or did we get it to 14?
I've no idea.
Anyway, this is made up data, so I wouldn't worry about it. There's no need to have a guilt complex. Right, so I have taken out this fictitious loan for a fictitious iMac Pro that was announced at a fictitious Apple event.
Never happened.
No.
It never happened.
Shaving my fictitious eyebrows.
Yep.
Right, no, seriously. Got this loan amount for 10 grand. The interest rate is 10%. Now, because ultimately I want to work out the monthly payment on the loan, everything needs to be in monthly units. You've got to keep the units consistent. So that's why I have calculated the monthly interest rate, simply taking the annual interest rate and dividing it by 12. And then the length of the loan in months. So if it's a 2-year loan, I've just typed in 24 there. So what I want to do is I want to work out how much it's going to cost me per month to pay back that loan. And that is where the PMT function comes in.
Do you know what I do, Mike?
What do you do?
I just say the rest of my natural life and leave it at that.
Well, there's that as well, yeah. I'm sure I could write a custom function in VBA to give you that value.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so the PMT function takes a number of parameters. The first one is the rate. Now I've got 2 interest rates there, but because ultimately I want the monthly payment, it's got to be the monthly interest rate. The second parameter is the number of payments, and in this case it's 24 months, so it's 24 payments. The third parameter is the present value. In other words, what is the current value of that loan? And it is 10,000. And that's it. There's a couple of other additional parameters, but they're optional, so I'm not going to put those in. Close my brackets and enter. Now, Excel considers that it's a money flowing out of your wallet or money flowing out of your bank account. So it always shows the answer as a negative. But if you were presenting this to somebody, they might get a bit confused. So by sticking a negative before the B3 being the cell with the loan amount in it, that will show you a positive result. So it's the same value, just without the negative. So that's telling me I'm going to have to pay back £461.45 per month. And if I want to calculate the total cost of that loan, I can take the monthly payment and I can multiply it by the number of months of the loan. So there is our total cost. So to borrow 10 grand over 2 years, it's going to cost me just over 11 grand. So there is our first function done. The second function, and some of you may remember me doing the IPMT function as part of that car loan thing that Johnny asked me to do. Is Johnny still with us?
No, don't wake him. Don't wake him, poor lamb.
Shh. But this is a cut down version. This is just focusing on the IPMT function. So just going to check for questions. Yeah, it'll have to go on my fictitious tech list as well. You're right there, Peter. Okay, so here, again, I'm using the same figures. So here I've borrowed 10 grand, 10% interest rate, 24 months. So I've calculated the monthly payment and there is the total cost. That's exactly the same as the PMT. In fact, I've used the PMT to calculate this. But what I want to do is I want to separate out the interest and the capital. So I want to know each month how much interest I'm paying and how much capital I'm paying off. And it's not going to be the same each month because you've got excuse me, compound interest and a decreasing balance. So it's not going to be the same each month.
You've got a question now.
I've got a question now. I'll go and have a look at it. Is there an APR function? I don't think there is. That's the annual percentage rate, isn't it? No, there isn't. There isn't, Paul. You'd probably have to calculate that manually, but you'd obviously have to know the underlying calculation to do that. Or if you know the underlying calculation, then you could build a function in VBA. Thanks for that, Kim. Okay, so I need, as I said, I need to calculate the interest, how much interest I pay. Before I do that, what I actually want is a list down column D of the month numbers. Now I could just type in 1, 2, select those two and autofill it all the way down to 24. But what happens if I change the length of the loan to 36? I'd then have to go back and add in the additional months. So I'm going to use a function which is nothing to do with finance functions, but it's one of those new dynamic array functions that I covered quite a while ago. So in D2, if I put equals sequence and then open brackets B4, what that's doing is it's saying I want to generate in sequence, and I'm not going to give it a start number, so it'll default to 1. I'm not going to give it a step, so it'll default to steps of 1. I want to generate a sequence of numbers starting at B4, or starting, I'll say that again. I want to generate a sequence of numbers and the number of numbers is based on the number in B4. So it's going to generate for me 24 numbers. And there you go. If I change that to 12, now we get 12. I change that to 36, we get 36. Change that to 48, you got the idea. It'll generate 48 numbers. So it's using this function called sequence. When those dynamic arrays first came out, some of them I could see the benefits of, like the unique function, a bit like that one you used in Google Sheets the other week.
That I found all by myself.
You did. And I actually couldn't find a proper use case for the sequence, but here is one. So it just generates a sequence of numbers. And here's a useful scenario. So let's put that back to 24. So I've now got 24 months. And to calculate the interest, I'm going to put that in E2. I'm going to use IPMT. So interest payment is what it stands for. So I want the rate, which is that cell there. I want the period, which is a single number. So I'm working out the interest for period 1, so I can pick that up from that cell there. I want the number of periods, which is B4, and I want the loan amount, which is B1. And if I want it to come out as a positive number, I need to put a minus sign before B1. And I have a question I've been told. Integer is a default. What do you mean by integer is default, Charles? Are we talking about the sequence function? If you're talking about the sequence function, then yes, integer is default. Okay. If you're talking about something else, just let me know. Now I want to copy this function down, so I need to make some of these cells absolute. So B3 is absolute, B4 is absolute, and B1 is absolute. The only one that's not absolute is D2, because that is the period number. But then I can close the brackets, copy it down, and that's showing me the amount of interest I have to pay each month. And then to calculate the amount of capital, that is going to be the monthly payment minus the interest for that month. And the monthly payment, that will need to be absolute as well, because I'm going to copy that down and I want to keep referring to B6. So what that's doing is that is showing me for each month the breakdown of interest and capital. That might be useful for some people. Most people, I would guess, just look at the bottom line figure and say, right, well, that's how much I've got to pay back each month. But, you know, some people like to break it down. Just in the same way that we're tech geeks, there's people in the world who are financial geeks. You could build a chart from this lot. You know, I could select the data, then I could go insert chart and do something like that. So there we go. There's a little chart, and that is showing me right, series 1, series 2, series 3. I don't want series 1 as being columns, because series 1 should be the month number. So let's delete that and try it again, but include the headings. See if that fixes that. Insert. It shouldn't be showing the month. I need to go into the data and I need to change that, because I don't want the month to be a series, so I'll remove that. There we go, that's better. It's because those were numbers, and numbers are automatically treated as something chartable. But that's showing me in a graphical format how much interest and how much capital we're paying back each month. So you can see that the capital is slightly rising each month and the interest is dropping each month, but ultimately it's the same total each month. Okay, so that's the second function. The third function is the FV function, which is the future value. So how much money you will have in the future given a starting balance, regular payments and a fixed interest rate. So this is all about saving money, putting money away in savings accounts rather than spending money and putting it in Apple's account, which is what we all do. What?
I don't. I give it all to Apple.
That's what I mean. Putting it in Apple's account.
Oh.
All right. So let's imagine that you are going to invest £1,000 per month. This is what Timmy could be doing with our money.
Yes.
Yeah.
He should be giving it back to me.
Okay, so you're going to invest £1,000 a month for 5 years, so 60 payments, at an interest rate of 10% per year. Or let's make it a little bit more realistic, because after we've paid off our debts and paid off our loans and our subscriptions, then
when we're living on Skid Row.
Yeah. Then we're only going to have £100 to actually invest. And the interest rate is probably about, what is the interest rate? About 1% these days. Let's be generous, make it 2%. Okay, so we're investing £100 a month at an interest rate of 2% for 5 years. So you'll notice, first of all, I've actually put a formula in A6 that will basically generate a text string projected value after 5 years. If I change that to 48 months, projected value after 4 years, and so on. That should be 60, not 50. So I want to show there the value after 5 years, and the way to do that would be using the FV function, the future value function. Okay, so FV, and I want the interest rate which is B3, and I want the number of payments, which is B4, and I want the present value. So I actually need to miss off the PMT variable and choose the present value. And that gives me a value of 110.50. Again, if I stick a negative sign at the beginning of that, it will show it as a positive. So what that is showing me is that £100 invested for 5 years at 2% interest is going to give me £110.51. Hardly worth doing, is it?
Not saying a thing.
Okay. The next function to look at is FV schedule, and this is how much money you'll have in the future given a starting balance, regular payments, and a variable interest rate. Because the one I did here was a fixed interest rate, but what if the interest rate changed? So here I've put in 10 years and a few different interest rates. So what I would do there is I'd use a different function, FV schedule. So FV schedule, and I want to multiply B1 by B2. That is the principal or the loan amount. So B1 times B2. And the schedule is those cells there, F2 to F11. So you're providing two pieces of information. One piece of information is the total amount that you are trying to invest or save, which is 10,000 times 10. And the second parameter is the different percentage interest rates. And that tells me that if I could put away 10 grand a year for 10 years, then I'd have 176 grand.
Wouldn't have an iMac though, would you?
No. No, that's very true. Very true. Okay, and the last function to show you is the present value function. So this one will give you the current value of a payment made in the future. So typical example of this, you want to invest a certain amount of money at a certain interest rate for a certain amount of time, and you want to know what it is worth now, not what it's worth in 2 years' time, but what it's worth now. And I've already done that function. I was testing it out and obviously didn't delete the value of B5, but it doesn't matter because I can just talk through it. It's a straightforward function. It's PV for present value, and then the parameters, which is the interest rate, the number of payments, and the investment amount. And what that will tell you is what that is worth today, not what it's worth in the future, but what it's worth today. Okay, so those are just 4 or 5 of the, I would say, more commonly used financial functions. I hope that has kind of demystified them for you. And I will hand back to you.
Well, let's see if there's any questions first.
Do we have any questions?
Oh, I've lost my question pod. There we go.
It's going so over your head, Renee. It's all right. It went over my head as well half the time.
Tracy also called it a jotter. No, it was a rough book for us. I don't know why. Right, I don't think I'll need that bit anymore. So let's get from you to me. Where's that gone? Oh, things will disappear. Right, let me do that, and then we're good to go. Right, remember when I said I'd forgotten to put a picky on a slide? We're going back into that, which is, that was my Mother's Day card, but my gift. Why aren't you moving? There we go. Oh, she's so cute. The bee is the symbol for Manchester, the worker bee. It really came to the forefront after the Manchester Arena bombing. So everything's got bees on it in Manchester. So there was the cup that says "You're beautiful," and then there was some earrings with the Manchester bee on. So lovely, lovely, Rachel. Right, so we're heading into, where am I up to here? Good grief. Right, we are heading into the Notion subscription tracker. Right, a couple of caveats before we start on this. This is an example of something that Notion can do in terms of calculating that Craft doesn't. So that's what I mean when I say they're doing two different jobs. But Craft is beautiful. Oh, if Notion looked like Craft. So that's our objective for the year, to persuade Notion that they need to look like Craft. That would be good. The other thing is, it's on the one hand, it's like one of the more complicated things that we would have built. But that's only because there's some calculations in it. But in terms of other things we've built, this one's actually quite easy. So let's head off and have a look at that. Right, so going there. Right, so we need Notion, because I'm going to do this in the demo. What do you mean I downloaded it from the internet? Cancel or allow? God almighty. Notion. Right, let's go back up here, and that was me trying it out. So we're not going to do it with that. We will do it with a completely new page. So let's add a page. That was equipment. We're going to do this with subscription tracker. Why are you doing that? I'm trying to close you. Right. So this one is our subscription tracker. In keeping with the other ones, first thing to think about, where are we putting the master table? Okay, so I'm first of all going to make this wide, as I always do, so I've got somewhere to work with. And I do want to put in a... Kim, I'm so with you. Do like putting pretty covers into Notion. That's the thing. Hours spent making Notion look pretty. But if it helps you use it, if it makes it more inclined that you will use it, then it's worth all that time, isn't it? So what I am going to do here is put in a database, an inline table. That's my database. So this one's going to be subscriptions. Oh dear. But remember, this is the base table. So I won't be using this for the actual demonstration. Why are you disappearing? Why aren't you doing what I want? That's better. So I would actually hide this table. Now, it doesn't matter at what point you hide it. But what I will say is, as you're building the table up, there's precious little point building it all up in this table. And then when you make your table, the one you're going to put the views on, so you can copy the views, you have to basically start again in terms of organising the fields. So I'm going to put down here, master table, and hide it straight away. And we don't need to see that again, do we? In fact, I'll make it red while we're at it, which takes us back up here. And this time I want a linked table, which we've just called subscriptions, like that. Right, it doesn't look like it's that much different, apart from the fact we've hidden the original down here. Oh, Kim's found a good train for her upcoming engine room. Oh, fantastic. Right. And it used to give you 3 fields. It now only gives you 2 fields. It used to give you an attachment field, which it doesn't anymore. We will keep name for the name of whatever the subscription is. In fact, we can put a few in to get ourselves going. So I have a subscription to Drafts. I have a subscription to Notion, obviously. I have well, I don't at the moment, but I will do shortly. So let's do Amazon Photos. And I'll add some more in as we go. But before we go any further, we're going to need to think about what fields we need. You also need to think with a subscription tracker, how on earth is it going to give you back the information that you want? And what is that information? Because if we just put it in a table and then we put pretty pictures on it, yeah, it looks grand. But if it can't calculate how much that's costing you, then you might as well do it in Excel. So what is the information that you're going to want? And that's why this one is a little bit trickier than anything that we've done before. Drafts is charged out per year. It's £17.49. Notion is £200 a year because I have to pay for Mike. It's a good deal, isn't it, Mike? Amazon Photos is per year, but some of these are going to be per month. How are we going to handle that? Do we automatically take the ones that are per year and as we put them in here, divide them by 12? And that seems all a bit messy, doesn't it? So we're trying to make this handle lots of different things. So let's assume that we're going to put some in. Let's assume I'm going to go for a craft subscription. It's not going to take long, is it? It's not. But I've also got an iCloud subscription and a YouTube premium subscription. And both of those are monthly. So this is where you're going to want to think about it. Oh, Kim wants due dates. Yep, you could put a due date in if it's going to go out of your account at a certain time. But let's get all the information we need at the moment. I'm going to keep the tags. You could add a category. You could add a type, but you might as well just put the whole lot in the tags and then work it out from there. So I'm going to leave the tags, which is quite unusual. But we are going to need other fields as well, obviously. So when it's due would be one of them, or the frequency of it. So if we put in there when it's due. Now, the only issue with putting in a due date, it's a good idea to have a due date in there, but you are going to have to keep it up to date. As I discovered when I went to have a look at mine and thought, dusty. Because, I paid it and I knew that, but I hadn't done anything about it. But we'll put in a due date because we're going to be very good this time, aren't we? Right, so make a due date. Obviously, for me in the UK, I've got to go in and format that because otherwise I lose the will to live. Can't have it like that. Got to be right. Okay, so we've got a due date in there. Then we've got to think about maybe the payment method. Now, this I didn't add to mine, but I would now. Because my credit card, actually it was Mike's credit card, everybody had their own. The credit card ran out at the end of January, and that was fine because we got another one. And then everybody and their dog needed us to update it. It was a living nightmare, wasn't it, Mike? It was like, where else is that? And then all of a sudden you get your credit cards expired and you think, I thought I did everything last week. So I would make that a select. Some will be going out via direct debit. Some will be on a credit card. What you put in here depends on obviously which method you're using and how you would want that seen. I've made it a drop down. So I've made it in there a select type because a Kanban view of that would be quite useful as far as I'm concerned. So I would put that in there. Right, so we've got and I also put in a review date. It might be something that I'm trying for a year. So for instance, I took a Bear subscription just to use part of it. So I would put a review date on it, and that's not exactly a due date. It's a date where I'm saying to myself, have a think about it. It's coming up in a month maybe. Do you want to pay this? Or are you going to stop subscribing to that one? Right, then we've got to think about the actual finance of it. The actual finance of what we're putting in here. Right, there will be a cost for this. So we'll put in cost. We won't get overcomplicated with that in terms of what we're going to do with it, but it would be a number. And this is what makes it even more complicated when you're actually working it through. Right, that's a number, but is it dollars or pounds? And it can't handle that very well. You're going to have to make a choice and try and put it in here in one particular currency because it certainly can't calculate that. I guess it could if you had extra columns to do that with, but it would be far more trouble than it would be worth. But we're going to need a base cost. And to me, that base cost is the first thing that I'm considering. Is that enough? Well, what that would tell us is we'd have a subtotal when we'd finished of the cost, but we have no idea with just that data that's there, whether that's monthly or annual or what. Now, I happen to know that drafts is £17.49. Best way to handle that, you're already seeing that it's a number, but you could change that to a value, and it is actually £17.49. So I have now got the pounds in it, but that is per year. So Notion per year is about 200, somewhere between 180 and 200, but it's charged in dollars. So I'm making a guesstimate, it's around the 200 mark. Amazon Photos is $16.99. I do hope Mike's not paying much attention. Craft would be $44.99, but I've not paid yet. iCloud, and here's where we hit a brick wall with this. iCloud is $6.99 a month. And YouTube Premium is $11.99 a month. So we've got a problem with that already. If I added that up, it wouldn't be right, because the iCloud and YouTube Premium would need to be multiplied by 12 to be the right amount. So basically, we need to come up with a way of handling that situation. Now, there is a neat little trick that you can use to do this. So what we've got in the cost column, think of that not as the annual cost or the monthly cost. It's the cost as your billed. So when I look at an iCloud bill, it's $6.99. When I get a bill for YouTube Premium, it's $11.99. But when I get the bill in for Notion, I think, eek, and it's £200. Or the drafts one is £17.49, but it's for the year, not anything else. So we need extra fields. And the extra fields are there to help us calculate that. So what we would need to know, you'd need an extra column. And I will call this billing. And what I mean by that, it would be a select, and I would probably put it next to the cost so it made sense. But the billing in there would need to be, is it monthly or is it yearly? So if I put in monthly, which that one is, no it's not, that one's yearly. So let me put yearly in there. All right, that one's yearly. This one, monthly. This one, monthly. These, yearly. So I would go in and I would put that information in. And with that information, we can then work out a cost. Could we do that in a single column? And the answer is yes, you could. You would have a column and it would say, if it's yearly, leave the figure alone. If it's monthly, multiply it by 12 and then add it on. So that's what we could do. But we don't want to do that. No, we don't want to do that. We'd like to see, because what we're going to do at the bottom of this, down here, if you move below new, you get calculate as an option. And the calculate will give you a count, or it will count the values, or it will sum it. If I sum that, that's not accurate. It's accurate for the first four, but these figures are inaccurate. So that will always be less than it should be. So I wouldn't put anything at the bottom of there. But what I would like is a column to show me what it's going to cost every month, and a column that shows me what it's going to cost annually for each one. So I need to add an extra column in. And I'm going to put in here monthly cost. Right, so I've got a monthly cost, but this time it needs to calculate. I'm just going to leave that as it is at the moment. We're going to sort that out shortly, but I'm going to move that next to billing. So all the information that we need is actually together. And this one's going to be a calculation. I also therefore need another column that's going to be the yearly cost. And again, I'm going to leave that alone as it is at the moment. I will sort those out shortly. These two are where the work is in this table, but the rest of it, fairly straightforward. Okay, so I'm going to start putting in some extra information here. I'm going to leave monthly and yearly alone. But in terms of tags, I could put on there what I want. Think about the views you're going to need. Do you want like what your computer costs you? Probably not. Don't want to know. But I'll put in computer. That's computer related. Drafts is also what we would call like a software subscription. So it's apps. So that's an app as well. It's not a cloud service or anything like that. It's an app. So I would carry on and do exactly the same. Obviously, the majority of mine's going to be computer, isn't it? And if it is, then you might decide you don't want to put computer in as a tag. But that would be an app. It was also a kind of cloud service. So would we put that down as management maybe? Never mind, it's an app. We'll leave it alone. Amazon Photos is a cloud service. So this is McCloud's cloud service. Or I could put cloud storage because, you know, there's going to be a lot of that as well. So that's cloud storage. iCloud is cloud storage, so we'll put that down. Would I use an additional column for semi-annual payments? You mean like you pay something every 6 months? If so, yes, you could put an extra column in. Because what we're going to discover is what this is going to cost us for each item per month, which is going to be in these cells. And then at the bottom, we're going to have a calculation of what the whole lot is going to cost us. So if you want to know what it costs you every 6 months, then you could create an extra column for it. Right, craft's an app, isn't it? Yeah, everything's going to be computer here. And oh, that would be a service, wouldn't it? So we need a new one there. Right, we'll make that a service. Now, because I've made this a multi-selection, so when we're going here, it's a multi-select, not a select. That will enable you to put more than one in each one. So you can see the top one, I've got 2. What else might I put in there? Pretty much they're all 1 at the moment, but you can put more in if you want. So if you wanted to say, like, you know, things I want to review or something like that, you could tag these up with anything. That's the beauty of having a generic tags column rather than a category column and a type column and a this column and a that column. You're multiplying the columns. In here, this whole table, the whole subscriptions tracker, will be extensible by changing things in the tags column. So I'm going to leave that as it is at the moment. Don't think we need any more. Right, what we do need, though, is just so you've got a history of this, what's the current status of it? Because sometimes you might decide, so I've got like a Now TV thing. When there's nothing on, I don't want to pay for it. So I watch Precious Little to start with. And Grey's isn't on at the moment, and I do love my Grey's Anatomy. So if it's not there, then I might have it on hiatus. It might be a different status. So a status column would be a good idea, wouldn't it? So in this, I'm going to put in here a status column, and it can only really have one status or another, so it would be a select. Right, let's scoot these down a bit so we can see them. Let's put the status over here as well. All right. So some of these are going to be... Why have I got that saying action? I'm sure that should say active. That should be. Right, I'm going to put that as an active subscription. Now, some things I don't pay for anymore. So let's add one in that I don't pay for anymore, which was Bear. And I think Bear was something like $11.99. And that was yearly. But at the moment... I'm not subscribed. So I did have a subscription. I don't use it that much any at the moment. Will I take it up again? So if it's a temporary hold, you could actually have it called on hold. Or you could actually say, no, it's cancelled. So let's put cancelled. Please note for later use, I will come back to this. I am spelling that the American way. Okay. Several doctors have COVID on Grey's now. Oh, no. I'm going to get to see this sometime next Christmas, I tell you. Right, so I've got that one down as that one's cancelled. But let's assume all of the others are active. So I'm going to mark these through as active subscriptions. Okay. Which I don't think matters. Right, so we've got our status in there. Right. We've got our billing in there. What would you need to do to work out the monthly cost? So the monthly cost, how would you calculate that? This is a bit like you, isn't it, Mike? What do you do to calculate that? Well, the iCloud and YouTube Premium's dead simple. That's easy because that's the price per month. So I don't need to do anything with it. I would just like to see $6.99 and $11.99 in that column. But for the others, I'd need to divide it by 12. So what we need to think about now is how we do that. The yearly cost, we have the opposite problem, which is the cost per year of Drafts, Notion, Amazon Photos, all the ones that are yearly is correct, but the monthly ones aren't right. They would need to be multiplied by 12. So we've got the kind of flip problem in there, but we can fix all of that. In terms of due dates, we'll just put the due dates in. I think drafts, I don't know. I don't know. When would that be due? When would I have taken that? Maybe September time. So you literally just go through it and put the due dates on it. Remember, although I don't do it this way, right, that you can put a reminder on it. So you could actually be reminded 2 days before, a week before, or you could customize it and put in a custom time and date that you want to be reminded. I don't do that because, yes, Notion will remind me. There'll be some kind of thing fly past on my phone and I'll be thinking, what was that? Or I'll come into Notion and there may or may not, depending on where I am and what I'm doing, how I'm accessing it, and whether I've looked at my notifications and now it's gone away, it may or may not actually give me some indication in the interface. So I don't use it as a reminder. I put a due date on it, but I would then put a mini view of the subscription tracker on a dashboard. And I would filter it for where the due date is in the next 30 days. So that's how I would do it. I would not put a reminder on it, but you can put a reminder on it. And I'm never going to want it at 9 a.m. Ever. I thought you could customize these. Well, I'll put it on anyway. The difference is in the column, it changes to blue and it's got a little timer next to it to let you know that there is a reminder set on that. But I never ever do it like that. Notion is due around Black Friday. I know that. It's hideously expensive. Right, we'll put that on Saturday. In fact, we'll make it the 19th. There we go. Amazon Photos, that's just been paid. So I'm reckoning probably around the 1st of March that's due. Craft, not done the deed yet, but the trial runs out on the 24th. So should we just say the 24th and be done? Right, iCloud is monthly. So the due date of that is going to be the 4th of April. That's the next one. It goes out on the 4th. YouTube Premium, not got a Scoobies when that goes out. Not a Scoobies. But it's monthly. We'll make it the 24th. There you go. I don't know. I don't look. This one isn't going to have a due date because it's been cancelled. And it was an app. But we're going to leave it where it is because we want to see things like that, don't we? Right. So now we need to work out what we need to do over here. Oh, and our payment method. So I would have... I think everything's a MasterCard now, but we'll put credit card. Right, and we can put direct debit, and then that will enable us to have a view based on that. You can never have more than one. Most of these are on our internet credit card that we never, ever use for anything else. And when that was there, oh, I know, well, no. It wouldn't be a credit card, would it? No, that would be App Store. Apple would be taking care of that. Not Notion, credit card. This one would be the App Store. And this bottom one would be the App Store. So that would enable you, because it's a select, to be able to do a Kanban view and sort it by that. So let's create that very quickly. So we'll have a board view, which is board by payment method. And there we go. And I can hide the no payment method because, you know, you're not going to be subscribed if you've not got a payment method. And you can view it like that. There's a little bit too much information there in terms of all this information, but you can see it. It's in that view. Let's go back to the table view because we still need to sort out this monthly cost thing. This is where it's at with this. Right. What you actually need to do with it to work out the monthly cost is to say, right, first of all, is it cancelled? Because if it is, don't add anything. It doesn't have a monthly cost then, does it? It's 0. The next thing you need to say is, if it's yearly, and how do we know if it's yearly? The billing type. If the billing type is yearly, then the cost is going to be what we've typed in, cost, divided by 12. Other than that, If it's not yearly, i.e. it's monthly, then just add it. Which sounds easy, doesn't it? But then you've got to type it. So think of it in English first and actually write it out in English. We do that, don't we? Not particularly with Excel, but when we're calculating in other languages, we actually write it out in English and then convert it. So what we need to do with this is change it from being text to being a formula. Oh, Kim says it sounds like a couple of filters. No. It's going to be a formula. We're going to actually calculate it and we're going to put a value in this column here. So we've made it a formula, but it didn't stop and say, okay, here's a formula editing window. Type it in there. You have to go back to it and you then have to hit edit formula. And this is hideous. It's hideous because it's so tiny and it doesn't give you much of a head start with, oh, well, what should I be doing then? Now, I know exactly what needs to be typed in, but it's going to be screaming at me as I'm typing it in. But I'll type it in and hopefully it'll work. Oh, the jeopardy of it. So first off, I need to say if. And luckily, that's if. As soon as you start typing that, it gives you information about it. So if there. So what it's saying is if Boolean, so if x equals 1, then do this. If it doesn't, then do that. Okay, so what we've got at the bottom is, right, if the test is false, then put yes, otherwise put no. So what we need to put in here is if, and what did we say? If it was cancelled. Okay, to get to the value of cancelled, you need to open your bracket and you then need to put in a property. Now, which one would tell us if it was cancelled or not? And that's the status. So when I click on there, it does actually help and it does put that in, which saves me typing it. If the status property is what? Well, if it is cancelled, this is where your spelling's got to come in. So I've done this the American way, but it wouldn't matter as long as everything matched. But if it's cancelled, then what? Well, then I put in what I want that value to be. Well, if it's cancelled, it's going to be 0. Then it gets a little bit more complicated. So let's say if it's cancelled, put 0. And if it's not, put 1. And then close that off so we've got the right there. And it's done that again, and I don't want that. So let's just do that. Right, we can see from that, none of these are cancelled, but that one is cancelled. If I change one of these to cancelled, it automatically changes to 0. So far, so good. But still no t-shirt at this stage. So let's go back in. That works. But we don't want to put 1 if it's not cancelled. We need to calculate exactly what it needs to be. So let's go back to there. And this is what I'm saying about it telling you there's an error in the syntax. I've not finished yet, so don't tell me there's an error. Okay, I'm about to type something. Leave me be. Right, I need to put in another if statement because I then need to say if, open brackets, the billing property, so click billing, if the billing property equals, and then the value of that is yearly. So you're putting a condition in this. If it equals yearly, and then a comma, and then you tell it what to do. So if it's yearly, what do you want it to do? Well, think where you are. You're in the monthly column. So if the property billing is set to yearly, take the value, which is the cost, and divide it by 12. So how would we do that? Simple. Take the cost, divide it by 12. I think I need spaces in there, which is strange because Excel doesn't, but we'll see. Divide it by 12. Is that enough? No, because we need to say, failing those two, so if it's not cancelled, ergo if it's active, if it's not cancelled and it's not yearly, then it must be monthly, in which case, give me the value of the cost. So the property for cost. And then we need 2 closing brackets to finish it. Okay. Not bad at all. Right, the Amazon Photos one is coming in as 0, and this is coming in as 0, on the basis that they're cancelled. We also need to do some nice formatting for this to make it work nice. Why is it not working nicely? I can edit the... I don't really want to edit the formula. I want to format it nicely. It worked out nicely before. I shall worry about that shortly. But I thought I could... I can't change it from formula, so I can't change it to number. But I should be able to format the answer as being correct. I'm going to worry about that down the line. Right, if I change this Amazon Photo one to active, then I get a price. And the price that I'm getting is £1.45.5 per month, which is correct. Right, can you find out, Mike, how I can get that formatted correctly? Hang on, there we go. There we go, it's fine. Why is that not at the top where it used to be? But there you go. So let's look at what we've got. Good grief, we pay £16.67 a month for Notion. This is when you start worrying. But everything has come through correctly. And if I decided, well, you know, we don't need Notion, then I can cancel it and it comes through as nothing. Obviously, that's never going to work. Or the shows wouldn't get done. But we've calculated a monthly cost, and it works irrespective of whether it is already a monthly cost or whether it's a yearly cost. So if we look at drafts at £17.49, that divided by 12 is £1.46. So all of the yearly ones are divided by 12, and the monthly ones are left alone. And if we said that Notion went mad, you know, like Hootsuite, and started to charge us that £200 monthly, then we get a monthly cost of £200. So this is all wired up correctly. Right, to work out how much that's going to cost us per month, we need to go to the bottom and just use the sum. And we're spending £42.27 per month on a subscription at the moment. Obviously, that doesn't include Hootsuite, nor does it include Creative Cloud. That's when your eyes start bleeding. But we need to calculate the yearly cost now. Anybody want to have a go at that? First thing you need to do, I left it as text, so I need to go in and make it a formula. And then I need to go back in and edit the formula. Now, what would the formula be this time? Well, first thing here is if the billing property is monthly, then you're going to need to multiply it by 12, aren't you? I'm also thinking with this. No, maybe that would work. Right, so in here we need an if. We need a condition to say if something is monthly, and that's billing. So down in the list, we choose billing. You can type this in, but obviously it makes it a little bit easier if you don't have to. So if that equals monthly, so we've selected it from the text there. If it equals monthly, good grief, what's this doing? Why is it all the way over there? There's the comma. So if it equals monthly, what do we want it to do? Well, if it's monthly, and this is the yearly field, we need to multiply it by 12. Okay, what are we multiplying by 12? The cost. So there's the cost. There's the multiply by 12. And then we need another comma and say, otherwise, show me the cost. Show me the cost. And to do that, you just put the cost in, like that. Then you need to think about, do the brackets match? No, they don't. We're a bracket short. So fixing a bracket should fix it, although it doesn't seem to like that. It's still complaining. So let me have a look. If the property of the billing equals, right, well, first off, sometimes it needs, this one looks a bit odd to me. Tell you what, let's get rid of that and start again. So let's just do that. Edit formula. Expected at 44. So 1, 2, 3. Does it need one more? Is that its problem? No, it's complaining somewhere else. So let me have a look at this. I've got 2 at the end. Oh, it looks like it should be working, but true to form. Oh, hang on. I see what's missing. My mistake. Right, need to put that there. And then that would be fine. Or maybe not. Let's have a look. So we've got, if the billing property is monthly, then take whatever's in the cost column, multiply it by 12, and if it's not monthly, just put the cost in that column. Will that work? I would love there not to be the usual delay, so you could tell me if that would work or not. So I will use my trusty assistant here. Will that work or not, Mike? It's calculations. You should be excited.
Should do.
I was in two minds. Because surely, don't you have to check the status again? Oh, never mind. We'll do it anyway. Okay, let's do that. Why are you putting that in there? Right, if it's monthly, okay. Yes and no as far as I'm concerned. That's not right. No, it's not right. That was what I was told to put in, but it's not right. So the first thing I'm going to do is change this to pounds, and you should tell me what's wrong with it. First off, this is correct. Drafts is charged annually, $17.49, and that's what we've got. Notion is £200 a year, so that's correct. So all the ones that are yearly are correct. Right, let's come down to the iCloud one. That's monthly. So let's do $6.99 multiplied by 12, 83.88. So that's correct. It looks all right so far, doesn't it? $11.99 times 12 is $143.88. So that's right. But what about this one? What about that one down there? If it's cancelled, it shouldn't cost us anything, should it? Now, whether you leave that like that is going to depend, because you've marked it as cancelled. If you take it up again, it's going to cost you that per month. But to me, if it's cancelled, I don't think it should be included in the yearly cost. But it depends on whether you did pay it for this year and you want it or not. If you don't want it, then what would you need to do with it? And you would need to go back into it. And basically, this is very short. If you look back at this one, we had an extra bit in it that said if the status is cancelled, then put 0. So that bit there is looking like what we need. So I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to go into the other one, and I'm going to just paste it in at the beginning. It won't be right because it's missing a bracket. So I need to put a closing bracket at the end because I had an opening bracket at the beginning. And click done. And now that is 0. I would rather see the yearly cost of a cancelled service as 0. If you want to see what the yearly cost would be, then don't put that bit in the calculations. Then I need to see my yearly cost. So I'm going to go to calculate, and I'm going to go to sum. Oh dear. It's not looking good, is it, Mike? £507.23. But, you know, if I put Creative Cloud... Do you know what else I could put on it, Mike? That would also make your eyes bleed. Wirecast. Wirecast is nothing like as bad as it was. No. It's 99 and it's yearly. And it's not cancelled. It's active. So that's going to add in beautifully. But down here, what's happening is this is automatically updating as you add to it. You need the fields that it needs to calculate, which was why I do not need that. Go away. That's what I'm trying to do. I need the cost, I need the billing, and I need the status. And that's why I moved them to be next to the name. I don't need any tags for this to work, or any dates for it to work, the payment method for it to work, or any review date either. I do not need that. And then it's just a matter of building the views that you want to see. So we've already got a board by payment method. But we could have, let's do another view and do a calendar view. Now, whether this would work particularly well, but we'll do it anyway. There's the calendar view, and you can see what's due and when it's due. I think the calendar view would have to be improved within Notion for this to be really valuable. For instance, I'd like to be able to say what kind, I'd like to see 2 months instead of 1 month, or a week, and I can't particularly do that. Now, what I can do with this table view, though, because the table view works quite nicely, I said to you, I might want to have a dashboard. So if I go over here and we add a page, I may have my overall dashboard, right? And on my dashboard, I would like to see when things are view. So let's say I've got my finances. Let's make that there. So underneath that, I want to see my finances, which some of them are coming from my subscription tracker. Now, this is the number one reason that I put the master table out of the way, either hidden on this page like that or in an engine room. And that's because I need a view of this that will work on that page. So if I go in and I add a view, and this time I'm going to add a list view. List views are lovely because you can make them really straightforward like that. Useless, but straightforward. So what I would then do is add some properties to it. So we can see the review date at the moment, and none of them have a review date. So how about we see the cost? Or maybe we want to see the monthly cost. What have we got going out, or what's it coming to this month? You could see the yearly cost, but particularly you want these to be shown when the due date, or whatever date we put in. So we'll put the due date in. Did we not? We did put a due date in. There we go. So we know how much and we know when it's due now. Now let's see with this and say we want to see everything. So we've got the view, but now we want to put a filter on it. And I only want to see things where if the due date, there we go, is on or before 1 month from now. And that will filter it down, and I've got those outgoings due. Now, why have I added that in here? Because it's useless. It's too wide to be much use. But I want to see it on the dashboard. Remember the financial dashboard? I want it underneath there. That's where I want it. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Kim. You head off and enjoy your continuing education. Oh, that always drove me mad in the law. Okay, so back in the subscription tracker, I've got the view that I want, but I don't have that in the dashboard. It's not doing any harm to have that view in here, obviously. But what I can do, so let's say this is my default view. So that's my table view. Right, that's great for an overall look at it where it's showing me absolutely everything. But because this is already a linked table, it is not the original table. If I duplicate the original table, I'm going to end up with multiple tables. It's going to cause problems. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. Duplicate this one. And it's thinking about it. And hopefully it's going to be in a better mood than it was earlier today when it thought about it for long enough for me to utter bad words. But it's okay today. So that is a duplicate of the one that is not the master one. And that's why it's got the little arrow on it. And that is so important. I'm going to drag that over to the dashboard, which means the page here remains unchanged. We can see everything we want to see. But on my dashboard, it's a bit big, isn't it? And my dashboard's quite narrow and I don't particularly want that. I would probably make it full width, but it's still not great because there's too much of it. But the views went with it, which it doesn't from the master table. So if I make that a list and then I put like, what's happening today on the left. So this, I'm going to put my calendar stuff over here. So put that there. Right. And I grab hold of that. Now I can't do that with a table. What I need to do it with is a blank line. So put that next to what's happening today. And then now I've got a space, I can put that over there. So here's my finances. But I want my finances over there and they need to be up a bit. Let's get that out of the way. There we go. So this is going to be stuff that's happening today. Maybe it's to-do items or whatever. After hours was happening today. And what else was happening today? Oh, Mike had a webinar. So Excel webinar is happening today. But over here, I'm getting a rolling thing of when these are due. Now, what I will say with that is there is work I could do on that. And what you need to think about when you're doing it is, do you want that work to happen now or do you want to get it right before you start? Because anything I do on this table now is divorced from the table on the other page. So in here, I want these showing where they're due first, not showing me that way. So I need it the other way around. So I need to apply a sort to that. And this time it's going to be where the due date is ascending. And that will give me the 1st of March, and then we get down to the end of March and going into April. But that view that I've just changed, that now has a filter and a sort, if we go back into here and look at the subscription tracker, and we apply that view, which was the list view, we don't have it in that order. So what you would need to do is actually edit the view in here. So what I try and do, so let's put a sort on it and make it the due date ascending. I try and keep everything in here until I'm pretty certain I'm 99.9% of the way there. And then I don't need to make that many changes moving forward. And we've got a subscription tracker. So this one is the table that shows us everything we need, and we've got all our calculations in it. And then back on our dashboard, we have a mini view of that, just showing what's coming up, what we need to think about in the next month. And we have a subscription tracker. Now your eyes are going to start bleeding at how much money you're hemorrhaging. Pretty much like me. There you go. Okay, right. I'm seeing Andrea saying more on craft next week, please. Okay, we'll do more on craft next week. I promise. Right, but let's go back in here because we've got other things coming up, haven't we? Oh, we do. We do. We have, first of all, our after hours, same time, same place, next week, with more craft, with added craft. There you go. But it's Mad March, and in Mad March, we're going live every Sunday at 3 p.m. This week, it is Create Creative Tables in Affinity Publisher. I have put the call out. If there's something with Affinity Publisher tables that confuses you, I would totally agree with you. The stuff for tables is all over the place. But let me know, and then I will cover it. We're going to be making the table that you see there on the right. We'll do that one. And lots more creative tables. Trust me, they're going to be very interesting. Very interesting. And tables are not easy in Affinity Publisher. So hopefully you will learn something of value. The week after, we're doing master pages in Affinity Publisher. I'm afraid the week after, the clocks change again. I know it's a pain. What can I say? But this week's, you get the extra lie in. So it's 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern. But the week after, it's 7 a.m. Pacific and 10 a.m. Eastern. And the week after that, we're going to do Adobe Bridge. It's free. That's all I'll say. It's free. No, seriously, come on, Adobe Bridge. It's got to be done. It's a very, very good app. We have done already the Export Persona, which is available on demand. Have you got the links? No, let's see if he's on the ball.
Yeah, they're in Notion.
They're in Notion. Now let's see how long it takes you to find them in Notion. Because I put them in Craft as well, and it takes me like a second. Notion's where it's at for the heavy lift. Craft, where it's at to get something done quickly. And last week we did blend modes, and that is also available on demand as well. And talking of on demand, we have everything that is done on YouTube at youtube.com/ElaineGiles. We have a dedicated after hours playlist which goes right back to episode 1. Unbelievable. Which was October 2018. Scary. And to get there, the easiest way is macbites.co.uk/after hours playlist, all one word. We are still marooned at MacBites headquarters. In fact, alarmingly, since, everybody's like, way, we're going to get out of lockdown, the R rate's gone up. We take notice of things like that because we're thinking, oh, how much longer will we be marooned? For the foreseeable is the answer to that. So make sure you are subscribed to the feed. You can do that in a podcatcher or in an RSS feed reader. That's the URL. I know, it's long and it's hideous. So I've done a QR code. So I'll leave that there, give you a chance to point and press, and hopefully your phone will do something intelligent with it rather than screaming, I can't read that. Well, let's see. We'll see. And all of that, of course, happens on MacBites FM. We love you guys. If you love us, can you give us a like? Really makes a difference with YouTube. And YouTube's gone a bit potty at the moment, as you can tell. It thinks you are all men over 65. I've no idea what it's doing, but I know it's not right. So give us a thumbs up and that might kickstart it. You never know. If you would like emails of everything that we are doing, then that is elainegiles.com/VIP. We also have another list, which is just for MacBites. That's all the MacBites stuff, which is macbites.co.uk/macbites-mail. We are also in Slack. Slack is fabulous. We have such fun. It's where we carry on the conversation. If you are not in Slack with us, you are more than welcome to join us. It's a completely free service. All you need to do is go to macbites.co.uk/Slack and join the conversation. So if you do join us, do pop up and say hello, and then we can all welcome you. Everybody in there is so welcoming. They are amazing. And you can catch us at all those places, although I must admit, Twitter, pretty toxic at the minute, isn't it? Mm. So I'm pondering Twitter. I'm pondering it. Right, Kim's gone. That's a problem. She's the umpire.
I'll be standing umpire.
Right, so you're going to be standing umpire, and are you going to say to me that I've sorted it?
No, I'm going to do this.
Oh, you're VARing. Mike's VARing. Hang on, he's VARing. Right, last shout for Joe. Don't you dare wake him up. Don't you dare.
No, I think you've done it.
He was asleep, I think. I think that possibly he was unconscious within the first half hour.
Yeah, I think that's double points.
He was so quiet during craft, and it was Jonathan saying, I need a notes app, that made me think, well, I thought at first, well, yeah, there's lots of notes apps out there. But then I thought, Jonathan's quite right. I need a notes app. I need a rough book is what I need. And that's why I headed off to it. Not a peep from him. So I'm thinking he's asleep. So we know what that means, don't we? Let's head off into here and see where we're at. Oh, yeah, it's all coming back to me now. I think he's asleep. We've not had a situation where Kim's had to leave, you know. No. So we're in uncharted waters here. But never mind. Right, there's me, and I'm going to hit the add one button, and we're 11-2. 11-2. Jonathan got his 2 on New Year's Day. We're hoping for good things around Easter for Jonathan, but I don't know. So good morning to you, Jonathan. Hope you enjoyed craft. Right, let me get that back to there. So we don't like leaving the score on screen too long. It upsets him. Poor lad. I think there's something going on. I think he's up to mischief, don't you? He's very, very tired at the moment. We'll have to see what's going on. Right, okay then. Do we have any last minute questions? Peter says, thank you. You are very welcome. And Paul enjoyed another great show. Thank you, Paul. And Debbie says, thanks for another informative show. Excellent. And Tony, yay. Don't forget, we're Marooned tomorrow at 7, and we're following that with By Request, where the theme... Go on, Mike.
Is cops and robbers.
We've got some fantastic stuff. Did you see the one from Ellen? Genius, some of those suggestions. No, I'm like, why did I not think of that one? And then there's another one she picked, and I'm like, oh, yeah. But I wouldn't have got it on my own. I wouldn't have got there on my own. So, cops and robbers, have a think about it. There's loads of steal your hearts away, but some of them are very, very clever. Let's see. She even picked 2, I think, that I'd picked. One of mine, I know it's blindingly obvious, but it's a good piece of music, was the theme to Inspector Morse.
Oh, yeah.
Barrington Furlong. Brilliant. Love that. Right, okay then, if there are no further questions, more craft next week by the look of it. I'll definitely do the iPad version, because there's different things to show on the iPad, but it works in exactly the same way, which is like the holy grail. You don't want to have an app on the desktop that works totally different or not at all on the iPad. That was why Obsidian that I was using for about a month was like, yeah, that's good. It doesn't work on the iPad. I've got no access on the iPad. But craft is where it's at, so more craft next week. There you go. Oh, the night Chicago died by paper lace.
Stick that in.
Mike's putting that in as we speak, Paul. Thank you, Paul. That's Paul M. Glad you enjoyed it. So we're going to head off, and I'm definitely going to have something to eat because I'm starving. It's been a weird day. All the timings are off. All Mike's webinars are weirdly timed. So he's like a rat on a wheel trying to get out of work and get everything sorted and then do a webinar. And then we're straight into Marooned. And then it's like, do you know we haven't eaten for 9 hours? So that's pretty much what it's been like this week, isn't it? Only one more week to... Oh, or is it 2 weeks?
One
more week to go. One more week to go and everything will be all back to normal. Thankfully, because we're having to triple check emails as well to make sure the times are right. I can't be doing with it. If they could we not just synchronise when it happens, if it needs to happen at all? Apparently not. Right, so I'm going to say good night from me.
Good night from me.
And we'll both see you next time. In the meanwhile, stay safe, guys.